This conference will now be recorded.
Is it Simon?
Yeah.
Chip seal, yep.
How much?
3825. 3825.
Yes,
Yeah. I took the windows out of it.
that's correct.
You
You have another one? Richard?
Well, I've been getting some of my, I got it.
There's quite a few of them today. And then on the capital line, I thought it said
Who's approving that?
third. Tony.
But anyway, now I'm.
Steve looking at him.
Yeah, but I've been forwarding it to.
We didn't go back. That's the first big one we have, that's why.
It's the second
This
one.
one's the second one.
Yeah.
This is the big one back and forth.
We had 770,000 last time. We were just 355.
Till church. We forward those to you.
I can. Or whatever.
Yeah, we do. Actually, she's been around a little bit.
Jackie, you're my canary in the coal mine. Can you hear us okay? Good morning.
Tweet. Yes, I hear you.
38.
Uh-oh. There he's down. He's probably talking.
Yeah, she's muted. Jackie, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
That's the movie.
There we go.
Furniture.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't hear her, but this was a response.
Sorry.
Jackie, we didn't hear you if you said anything. Can you hear us?
Brandon.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Huh. We can see that you're talking, but we're not getting anything.
It's supposed to be dry. Just
I'm doing it from my computer.
I'm sure you're, when are you gonna head down there? January.
Now can you hear me?
As bad as
Yeah, so I
summer.
was thinking we have to go down the hospital.
So we're not hearing you, Jackie.
When you posted that picture of it with that foot in the carpet, it was like, oh no, yeah. But I'm sure they have lots of trained professionals to get that water out and dry and.
All of those. Yeah.
So your buddy was a trained
It's actually
professional.
immigrants that are flying over from Texas.
That's right.
Yeah, that's back there. That's back there.
Well, yeah, Governor of Florida. Grabbing in Texas.
Yeah, but now the countries that they're coming from. Good morning, everyone. Would you join me in the pledge of allegiance, please? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. there are some mild changes that I'm aware of, and you'll look under board discussion. Raffle's not there, and the 2023 Sturgis ambulance agreement we will not see today. And there is, yep, at 10 o'clock, listed as a public hearing, but we did that hearing the last meeting. There's not a public hearing today. So
That's a public
doesn't change the voting. Good. Anything else? Anyone else have a question or comment?
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Agenda approved. Any conflicts today? Randy? Okay.
You reserve the right to tell you if there is one.
Yep. Something comes up, you just tell us. Regular minutes from the Board of Adjustment and County Commission meeting September 27th.
Motion to approve the drain minutes and normal meeting and Board of Adjustment.
Second, the best minutes in the county.
Mistake.
You using.
No, it won't even give me that option. This is like a new deal. I did the same way last time. Jackie, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah,
Can
we
you hear
can see
me?
So she's talking, is your volume turned on? What do you?
Can you hear me?
Oh, now we can. There we go.
Oh, thank you so much. All right.
There we go.
Thank you.
We're back online. Thank you for your patience.
But no, you're not getting full.
No.
For the audio.
Yeah, and she can hear us just fine. So, yeah, thank you. Sorry about that. We're back.
All right, we'll be back in session. We'll go on with audit and accountants and treasurer.
Dramatic pause.
This is fine. I got a little spot right here. It's cozy.
This is as September 30th, 2022. Total amount of deposits in the banks is $70,928,314.92. Included in that balance is our CDs at Colliers at $5 million, bank balance of $20,535,923.81. Our U.S. bank balance, which is our construction fund for the Public Safety and Services Center, $40,392,750. $1,640.39. Total cash is $1,350. Total amount of checks and drafts and treasurer's possession not exceeding 3 days is $108,314.65. Total amount of cash is $3,854.40. Petty cash $1,860 for a total of $71,043,693.97.
Second. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Personnel,
I just have a cell phone stipend for Ian Buettner, effective 10/5/22 in the amount of $104 per month.
can you tell us about that, Pat?
I could. So Ian, he's our new hire. Yeah, we got to put on call status as of that date.
Motion to approve. Second. You shouldn't have let him off so easy.
Well, we haven't finished with that.
Okay, good.
Any further questions, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Anything else?
Yes, I have Renee Larson, need to approve her as a volunteer for emergency management, as a volunteer for insurance purposes.
Okay.
Second.
Any further questions, discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
That's all I have, Chairman.
Thank you. Travel request.
Mr. Chairman?
Are we gonna
Yes.
talk about the interview?
Well,
It's on the agenda.
That's what I was going to.
that's what Bruce was gonna bring up to us.
If I may, Mr. Chairman? An update, of course, you've advertised for a highway superintendent. To date, there's been one application. Regarding your director of equalization, to date, there have been no applications. And so I was hoping to discuss with you setting up an interview schedule. You do have one person to interview, but otherwise, nothing at this point.
Okay, go ahead, Randy.
What's the deadline for applications?
We didn't put a deadline.
Until filled.
We put up to
Did you put it online?
It's online, went through Chris Jacobson. I think it's on the respective highway site and the respective equalization site, job service. Posted on the bulletin boards here, obviously.
Would you happen to put an ad in the CIC? The Construction Industry Center? That might be a place to put an additional ad.
at this time.
We're just
Big
that hard to
idea.
work for.
What's the board
I didn't
feeling?
even know that they took applications like that.
Well, what they do is you have to buy the landscape.
At this time, we don't have anything set. Do we want to set an interview to the one person we have and wait for more? What do you want to do?
I think we need to put a closing date of January 1 on the highway superintendent.
gives us only 2 weeks to put them in place. Or do you want to make it sooner than that?
I'd say
Maybe
sooner.
December 1, December 1?
December
and then-
1.
And then I give them a transition.
And I don't know that the closing date matters. If people haven't applied by now, probably not going to apply. If you wait until January, the job's going to get hired out underneath you.
Yeah,
Quite honestly.
I would move to have the closing date November 15th for the highway superintendent.
okay.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Everyone understand that motion? Go
I'm
ahead.
doing that because, just in case there's procrastinators, Bruce. Some people wait till the last
Well, maybe we don't want them to, I think, procrastinate.
Well, they're going to get hired out. Was it November?
minute. 15th.
November.
All right, everyone understand the
For
motion?
both.
Any
No,
further
just for the
discussion?
highway.
Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So that will be our closing date for the highway. How about our, for Tim's position? We have no applications at this time.
I thought maybe you were going to have 1 or 2 by today, but no.
We just put it out.
I know.
Yeah, so she might be revisit it.
We'll let it ride. We can talk about it next meeting. Okay?
I was looking to do the same date, that's a full month or more.
It's up to you guys.
Tim is actually going to be done
Sooner.
December 17th. Yeah.
Why don't we do the same date on the,
Is that a motion, Bob?
make a motion to utilize the same date of November 15th for director of equalization.
Second.
Everyone understand the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We both have the same closing date. We'll see where we go from here. Okay, Bruce? Well, Brenda, you want to tell us about the Department of Treasury Local Assistance Fund recipient authorization?
Yes, we
For the packets that was there.
Yes, the U.S. Department of Treasury Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund is allocating Lawrence County with $892,318.92 to be received in 2 tranches in 22 and 23. And I need permission to sign the application to receive such payments from the Treasury. And it is for those entities that have large public lands within their counties.
It's not expected, was it?
Move to authorize the signature of the application.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Everyone understand that motion? Richard, go ahead.
Yes,
No.
well, it's public lands.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, it branched off that, because if you have large amounts of public lands, it depends on how many acres you have in your county. Right?
Commissioner Doug,
We were in the WIR, we discussed this. It's part of the recovery fund set aside for counties with public lands. So any of them that qualify for built qualify for this money. It does have only one catch with it. You can't use it to lobby. So when we receive it, we need to put it in a fund.
we can do
Not
that.
use it for lobby.
Go ahead.
It can be used the same way that I use the ARPA funds for county general services, so I would use it in the same manner for payroll and that would then
Good.
it,
But Brenda, I think that's the only catch with this, is you can't use it
for the lobby.
Yeah.
for lobby.
That's
So
what
it
it's showing.
doesn't have all the restrictions.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to allow Brenda to sign this. Any further questions, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We will sign that to diligence.
Do you know how much each year yet, Brenda?
It's 892,000, so it's 400.
What's half and half?
Should be have it within 45 days of me signing the document.
Okay, November meeting dates. We're looking at the 1st, the 10th. The 10th obviously being the election canvas, and the 22nd. Yeah, go ahead, Bruce.
So the odd one is the November 1st meeting, and that is necessitated because the election obviously is going to be on the second Tuesday, the 8th. So we moved the meeting up a week. So you have one, the first Tuesday of the month, which is the first day of the month, and then on the 10th, which is the Thursday following the election, which is the election on the 22nd, obviously. One of the questions I have is that planning and zoning will not have met obviously, again, before your October 25th meeting, and they will not have met before the following meeting on November 1st. So there probably won't be a whole lot of planning and zoning on the agendas for either of those two meetings. And so I realized on that Thursday, November 10th meeting, typically kind of get in and out and do the election canvas. But the idea is, would you be open to entertaining some planning and zoning on that day? Planning and zoning will have met by then. They will have met on the 3rd.
Commissioner Godu?
Why would we have the one on the first if we just had a full course meal on the 10th?
Well, and that goes to the discussion about those months where you only have one meeting. And so, and I have that on your proposal, just talk about yet today is about adding a second meeting to February into August as well. So you can certainly take it off, but it's been planned that way for over a year.
We can take care of business on the first.
I think we need to just allow whatever needs to be on the agenda on the 10th to be on the agenda.
That's up to you guys. That's why it's here. This is for discussion.
I don't know why you couldn't switch dates on 25.
Okay.
10th versus Thursday versus Tuesday.
Brandon?
Whatever we need to do.
Okay.
Do 3 meetings, you do 3, we do 4 meetings on Thursday.
Bob?
Yeah.
The 10th will work. Normally that's a quick meeting, but if you cover everything, we can put it all in one. So 10th is fine with me.
So cancel the 1st?
Cancel the first.
Okay.
Need a motion for that?
Yes, please.
Please.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Everyone understand the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we will meet on the 10th. No longer first, so wipe that off your schedule.
Question,
Commissioner
there's
Godu?
no public hearings advertised for the first.
I don't believe so. I'll double check the hands.
Yeah, I'll make sure.
That would be one thing.
I don't think there
What
was.
about our liquor licenses?
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna be good doing them on the 10th. though.
We'd have to, I'd have to check with Crystal to see if it's been. Yeah, so that was.
Okay, we'll come back to that then. Also, before you in your packets with the proposed 2023 county commissioner meeting schedule. Everyone have a chance to look at it. And we can still change that too if we have to. So make sure you take a look at it, make sure it works for you.
Yes. Public hearing for liquor license was set for the 1st.
They were?
Okay,
I have a question.
Go ahead.
On next year's schedule in February. We got the 4th and 28th. Would it be better to have the 7th and 21st? Or 8th and 22nd, excuse me? I'm in the wrong here, sorry.
I go with the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays of the month.
trying to stay to the normal schedule.
It makes no difference, but that's why.
The 7th and the 21st.
In the past, we haven't had a second meeting.
We haven't had a second,
August?
but
No,
we're trying to add it so we
That's
can.
not February, it was just fine how it was.
okay. Sorry I brought it up.
I just note that there's a second date for February, and if you look at August, in the past, you've talked about adding a second meeting in August as well. You don't have to act on this today.
This is proposed, so
Yeah.
take a look at it, see if there's some issues, go ahead, Randy.
Well, the only comment I'd have is August, we really usually get a lot of stuff. But we could set a special meeting that year. Shares discretion too.
I say go to 4 meetings a month.
I
Okay,
didn't hear a
Paul?
motion to that effect.
No, I kind of figured it was dead.
No action.
No options. Ellie, isn't that yours quarterly report?
Barb is here. Paul's here.
Local
One of the two, yeah.
Local emergency planning grant. Barb has done a superb job of getting this completed, needs your signature to submit to the state.
Move to authorize the chairman to sign.
Second. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We will sign that.
So, Mr. Chairman, regarding the meeting on the 1st, is that back on, or do we republish the notices for liquor licenses? Public hearing.
Oh, that's right. Did publish all that.
Yeah.
It's already published, so
Bruce, do we need to resend the motion to make another one?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, you can rescind that
And
one,
a second.
reestablish the meeting on the 1st,
Who's the second?
Sleep and
if
mute.
that's the project.
Okay, we're back on to the first. So get ready to publish the liquor license information.
So 3 meetings then.
So, let's go on to sheriffs. If you join us at the table, please.
Because I have nothing for you. You have anything for me?
Sheriff is in
jacket
Aberdeen.
color today.
Yeah, we didn't match this time, but we were close.
We have questions for the sheriff.
Well, we did, but sure you're checking on the next day.
How's the vehicle? How are the vehicles going?
Good. They got all of them ordered. We're hoping the ones for this year will still come in this year. Jim makes us hopeful that those ones will come in. Usually we're done by now, but it's just been one of those years.
Have we got everything put back together enough to drive down there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And how's your staffing? You're still short?
So we have one more going through the background currently. He already is a certified officer. He has to go through the background.
And then you got a couple of people academy.
We will have 2 going in November. We'll do Cleveland and Rosemont will be going.
And then you'll be full.
Then we'll be full. And then Lance Palmer will be back from National Guard.
Well,
Before the holidays.
Yes. That's right.
we'll be back to where you need to be.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah,
see.
We're close.
Yes.
Almost. Any further questions for the sheriff?
He did pretty good.
Oh, Bruce, go ahead. Tough one.
Mr. Chairman, I can give you an update on the Public Safety and Services Center project. The one thing you think I have to report is, saw that Williams and Associates has issued the RFP for the commissioning agent. Went out, I think, yesterday. So hopefully we'll have that in place sooner than later. That may be one of those, well, I think we'll try to bring that to you to ratify that decision. We need to get that in place, but I don't know that it's so pressing that way. It can't wait until your next meeting. But there has been some delay in getting it done.
Okay.
There's like 2 or 3, I think, that were identified.
Can you explain for us why we shifted the footprint of the public safety building to one side?
No, I can't.
I think I've heard him explain it in the past. It was to maximize the site.
Okay.
Is that what you said in the past?
Sounds right.
We didn't shift the building, we shifted the building.
Yeah. I'm merely giving him a bad time. So.
And I appreciate that.
All right. Any further questions for Pat?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, guys. Thanks.
Jim?
There's the guy you need to get that.
Just quick, fast, and painless. Our GIS website's being hosted by a group called Facility Dudes. We've been having them for a number of years. They handle that. They gave us a letter about a month or so ago that they were no longer going to be doing that in the future. So Brett went out and started looking for another company to pick up on them. And this is a South Dakota company. It's the First District Association of Governments, and they handle the GIS websites.
I think that's the equivalent of Jennifer Seitzma, the Black Hills Council of Local Governments. East River, I think you have names like First District. This is Todd Kays, I think. I don't really know.
Sure. And so we looked at this, they did a preliminary of what they can do with their stuff. There's quite a bit more bells and whistles and a lot of things you're going to be able to do with this if you really want to drill down into it. So it's going to be a superior product that we got. Currently, facility use, I got budgeted 4,700. These guys are going to be 5,000, so it's not a problem making that difference up somewhere in the road there to cover them. If you try to use our GIS website, you probably noticed in the last month or two, it's been hit or miss at best because they're just letting it expire, which it will do at the end of the year. These folks here said if we give them the go ahead, they'll go ahead, fire up, have this system running at the end of the year, won't charge us, and then it'll start on the calendar year going forward.
Okay. Mr. Doug.
So will this allow you to download shape files, georeferenced images?
A lot better than what we've been doing now, yeah.
Because ours is one of the best without a membership. This won't require a membership.
No, this is just, again, it's gonna be an independent to it, and they're gonna handle it for us.
And what platform are they using?
As far as Esri? Is it your
No,
Yes, sir.
the website itself, what will it look like? It won't be like Rapid Map or these other ones that Meade County have, right? So
I can't remember the name of the platform that they're using, but, you know, if you have time and you're finished, we need to get walk through it. We've gone through it.
Because in my opinion, you have about the friendliest one out there without memberships.
Yeah.
And so with the one memberships, we need to know that it's not going to be as friendly as the one we have right now.
You know, I would say we'll take some time and review it alongside of Tim and Brett. And I thought it operated very well, provided great functionality, performance was good.
Did you do that on-site or off-site?
Here, right here, just remotely.
Because there's a difference.
Right. I mean, if you really wanna drill into it, yeah, you're gonna have to study a little bit, but if what we were doing before, I don't think there's gonna be that much difference. It's just gonna be, you click this instead of that.
Is there somebody else that's using this platform that we could go to theirs and take a look at?
Yeah, there's several
Send
other
that
government
district.
entities that are using it part of that district.
Mr. Flanagan.
What do you need from us?
I just making you well aware that we're switching,
We
and
have
that there will be a little bit of difference.
I'll need a motion to sign the agreement.
So moved.
Second,
I have a question.
go ahead.
Do we get a discount since we're a member? All these districts work together?
I'm assuming this is their price, whether it's a discounted price or not. I'm just looking at what we're getting, what this will do, and the difference is well worth it.
You believe it's an improvement?
There's some bells and whistles in it, that was kind of nice.
Further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Pose same sign. I will sign.
Tim will have a copy for you here in a second.
Anything else for us, Tim?
Nope, that's pretty much it, gentlemen.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
the commission earlier discussed the lack of applicants for your position. Are you aware of any applicants that are pending?
I've got a couple, and actually, one is taking their child to the eye doctor as we speak. I was expecting to see him this morning, so
We could have some.
I could have some. If they get here before you break up, I'll bring them up.
We did put a deadline on it.
Okay.
November 15th.
Today's the deadline?
November.
November 15th. If you send it today, we'll get it done today. Okay, well, thank you guys. You're here now. You bet.
We'll take 3 minutes, get Alan lined up.
3?
That's all right.
Yeah, if you have time.
We're almost on time.
That's fine. Yes.
Some of them are on the team.
There is a difference between. It's shocking to see how each county does it a little bit differently, so.
Rapid, you have to have a membership.
Well, Meade and Rapid, there's a limit of what you can see. If you want everything, you have to pay. Correct.
You had any more discussion with Alan about this?
No, no. And I went back to our records and see why what we did and we're doing it in these.
I see you guys been busy hauling a lot of hay.
Yeah.
Somebody can stand in the truck every day. I haven't even seen it out and about, but I see all the hay disappearing. How many can you haul at a time?
Let's see.
Right, the north end of the south, as well as the encroachments that has this.
Mine on my truck different, I can get 34, but it takes a lot of time. I did.
This is the best.
We don't drive down
More protection in order. to-
Saves a lot of time. Stack it all there at the feedlot
I
then?
went back through and checked all of the reasons. I'm taking my young guys and we're learning.
Yeah.
Decisions are made. Nice to say you.
Yeah. You get everything put up?
Good morning.
They had something Thursday that big rain fell, so I looked, so I sat there and sat there.
Yes.
They got it done the last day or so, and I haven't had much time.
Did you sign
Yeah.
one or two?
Thanks, that wonderful.
Let me grab another one. We'll have two.
Just a minute till Randy's back. You're welcome. There's a quarter report, I just haven't signed it. In doubles.
Try to share the screen. You guys see that.
All right, Randy's back. Alan?
All right, good morning, gentlemen. Morning. Where do you want to start? Got a driveway permit submitted by Ron Williams for the new subdivision off of Brownsville Road, located about 369 foot east of the North Rochford Road. I think that was in your packets. We went out and looked at it, and it will require a culvert, since this is going to be commercial or a main thoroughfare through there. I guess we don't know what to call it, like, because that's what they got in their phones. 24-inch pipe, 2 foot with the flare ends. Site distance is good from the west. It's right at the minimum from the east, but people are slowing down for the intersection. Anyhow, so I don't see it as a major safety concern.
Mr. Donovan.
On the profile, it shows it's still draining onto the highway. And I think our specifications on the permit say you have to come off the shoulder at -2%, so the gravel doesn't flow onto the street.
Yeah, we have a 2%. I don't know if that's negative.
So it's the same slope as and this is the opposite.
We'd like to see it slope or.
Right, and this is it shows the opposite.
It does go up, yeah, it goes up the hill there, right off to the north, so yeah. But normally we require that same back to the right of way line, back to
Right.
the 33 foot, so.
Is that one this way?
Well, it wouldn't be, I mean, they're gonna have to make a special to make sure that it gets, yes.
Understood.
Okay.
Your recommendation?
I would recommend approval.
I move with all recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Everyone understand it? Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, I think the last 2 meetings, we've discussed the Deer Mountain Sanitary District application for the water line. And I contacted Oz and then got a hold of Joe Noble. Is Joe here today?
That's me. That'd be you. That'd be me.
There's Oz. Okay. I asked Mr. Noble if he could explain why we're putting this water line in. We're crossing the Brownsville Road twice. Why it couldn't be put in and installed on the one side of the road only. That was one of my questions. And then I come to find out that they were planning on, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were planning on trenching this water line across the Brownsville Road, which we don't allow. And they were going to be trenching it across the road twice, 2 different locations. So I'm gonna let Mr. Noble here explain the circumstances as to why the location is proposed in this application. And then what are we going to do to address the open trench issue? Take it away.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks, council. As introduced, I'm Joe Noble with A2S, the design engineer for Deer Mountain Sand District here. In this Deer Mountain Sand District is doing a complete upgrade of the system. Everything from their treatment through all their distribution up to new tanks and everything else. So this is a portion of that has become through a new pump house located on Inglewood Road going south across Brownsville. And then we will be crossing through basically between Rochford Road and Highway 14, pouring under Highway 14 and then getting into the Deer Mountain proper area as we continue along this way. Part of our challenges with this is, first and foremost, we need to make these installations while keeping the existing system online. And as a part of that, we're trying to install this new water main with as minimal impact to the line. Now, in that in itself has posed a lot of challenges as it was installed. Not a lot of good records are known of exactly where this line is. What is being shown is our best understanding the representation of this location of this line. And so a standard practice that we like to do is I like to stay away from it. I like to stay away from where the existing line is as much as possible. Unfortunately, our understanding is the existing line kind of does the similar thing. Starts on the north, ends up going across Brownsville Road, goes underneath Rochford Road, and then continues on its way. And on top of that, we have some concerns about the existing condition of this line. So we're trying to mitigate those concerns as well. So when we looked at those alignments, we tried to make sure that we're basically staying outside of the middle of the road as much as possible. Understand that nobody likes having water lines inside the road. So we're going from shoulder to shoulder. Where we cross Rochford Road is on the north side of Brownsville Road, into trenches previously approved permit for that. But then we immediately cross the existing line. When we look at trying to install this, we're trying to install this with as minimal impact not only to the sand district, but also to all the current residents as possible. If we were to try to, if we were to go alongside the existing alignment, that contractor would need to do a lot of additional due diligence in locating and finding that line while they're installing it, as well as making sure that they're installing it without having breaks, lines, everything else like that. So that's why we basically flipped from one side to the other in hopes of just being able to trench this in as quickly as possible and get out of everybody's hair for all intents and purposes as quickly as possible. I hope that addresses the alignment. In terms of the bore pits themselves, as you may be aware, Brownsville has a lot of existing encroachments in terms of trees coming up along the side of the actual easement itself or the right-of-way itself. When we start looking at trying to do trenches, bore pits, etc., we end up probably have a bigger impact in terms of traffic control than what we would have if we were able to just open trench this. We do recognize that there would be impacts to the folks who utilize Brownsville Road, but we also see that there are two very viable alternatives to the north and to the south that still gives you access to Inglewood Road. We would hope that trenching this would actually allow us to have this installed within a few days, as opposed to pits, casings, ensuring that we have setbacks and everything else. We would actually have a potentially larger impact to traffic on Brownsville as opposed to doing it. I understand that it's not your typical, but this is the reason why we did this for Brownsville. Rochford Road really poses itself very nicely to having the casing, and that's why we had proposed doing the casing under Rochford. Also understanding that there's not a lot of great alternatives around shutting down Rochford Road itself.
Mr. Geiger.
So if you cross Brownsville, will you see that?
let have a sleeve?
We typically don't sleeve that. I mean, we could, but if there's a concern about, I just want to understand, what's the concern? Would you still want a casing if we open trench it?
Well, that's what I'm thinking, because if you have to ever repair it, then you can just push your pipe through that.
Would there be other alternatives considered? You know, say like encasing it? The only reason I say that is it gets a little cost prohibitive once we start having, I understand the concern in terms of casing it and everything else, it provides protection of it. But the other concern here is, you know, if you had a break inside that casing, then you're still opening up pits. You're still having to open up pits, you're still having to pull the pipe out. And once again, you're right back to where you were in terms of potential impact on that road, as opposed to say, if you had a break in that line down the road, you open up that specific portion of that break and you just put a collar over it and then you're back operational. Once again, we can, that would be, if that would be what is necessary. Honestly, casing becomes a little problematic. Everybody likes to have casings, but they actually become more difficult in tight right-of-ways like this.
And when you backfill it, how long is the warranty on the backfill? Because the issue that we have is the settle.
Correct. Yeah, understood.
And if we, you know, that's Alan's concern. I would suggest.
Yeah, and absolutely. We have a minimum of 1 year warranty for all the work. If this is something that would be better served, we can specify longer periods, especially for particular areas. If this is a concern, the county, I have no issue in specifying for this particular stretch that anything in the county road has to be a 2 year warranty period. But we do specify that all trenching and all road repairs have to meet county standards in terms of your ASHTO and meeting your having the densities and compaction properly. So,
And then, if I may, Mr. Chair.
go ahead.
The plan shows this being in the road quite often, running down the road and on the curve here on the plan. But you're going to crowd one shoulder.
Correct. Absolutely.
But why wouldn't you go in there and borrow it? Is it unfeasible because of the slope? Or?
The slope gets challenging, as well as then we start having additional approaches as we go down that way. So, you know, one of the things that when we start looking at, people live up here for a reason, and one of those reasons is they like to live in the trees, they like to have that county scenery. Not saying that you don't have a right as a part of your right of way for that to be cleaned up, but I do know in experiences when a contractor starts tearing down trees and we start ripping down the side of a hill, we get a lot of questions and a lot of blowback in terms of why can't those trees survive? Why can't you shift it closer to the road? You know, these are the type of questions. So we are hugging as close to we're not physically in the roadway, and I know that our aerial is kind of depicting that, but we will be hugging outside of the physical drive path as much as possible.
And I recognize that you have that other old line that we don't know what it is. I recognize that. And we need to recognize that they need to keep that charged. That's their water source, over 100 users plus.
Correct. 120, yeah, and more.
And more.
And more.
So that's the challenge they have, even with service.
Correct. And like the portions where we are crossing, we fully expect that contractor will have to do some initial potholing just to verify depth and everything else, you know, and so there's going to be some preliminary slowdown on that, but that's different if we have to only just do that twice as opposed to potholing along that entire lane of Brownsville Road will actually end up being in Brownsville Road for a much longer period than if we were able to, if this was approved, to go opposite side and then cross back over.
Alan, what's your thoughts on not jacking it? Open trenching.
Well, I just don't like open trenching. It tears the road up. You have traffic issues out there while they're doing the open trenching. If they're proposing on closing the road down, the entire road down, or if they can do it in a half to keep a lane open, I don't know what they're. I look at this and I just say, why am I not going? They can put it on run it all the way on you can find that old line and put it to the north of that, the old existing line, the whole way down to here.
That's my thought on this. I just don't like this proposal at all.
I would also say that even if we did find it and we say we offset the 5 feet in that state of that current line, being added service life, the slightest disruptions, even if we open trench it, we can bore it, we do a bunch of different things. We still have run the potential of having multiple breaks in that existing line, which ultimately still slows down the contractor. He's in that road longer. He ends up having to do additional work. I would say that the north side of that road has more encroachments than the south, just by the nature of it. There's more trees, there's more issues and concerns of trying to offset to the north of that existing line. So I recognize that there is, in an ideal world, we'd love to just offset that as closely as possible and keep it in there. But because of the concerns of the age and keeping everybody operational, this is part of the reason why I chose to go this path.
Mr. Darby. So this permit does not include the permit of the new pump house, correct? That's on private land.
That's on private land.
Okay. And you required that easement?
We're working on that easement, yes.
Further questions from the board? Discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, somebody's online and has their microphone open, I think. If you could please mute your microphone. Thank you.
Motion. Further discussion? Go ahead.
Question. What's your construction schedule when you start trenching?
We won't start trenching until next summer.
When's your bid date?
Right now, that's to be determined. You're looking at going back out to bid end of this year, early 2020. Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt. Flanagan.
So just to be clear, you're asking to open trench not only across the road, but in the road to some degree.
Inside the right of way.
Down the period that the road.
On this, off of the shoulder of the road. Correct.
Yeah, you're not talking about crossing the road, you're talking about, like, this is, transfers, and you're gonna go.
And we can adjust
You're
that.
not going across.
We can adjust that to make those more angular, that they're perfectly 90, if that'd be acceptable. Over trench, we're willing to work with you guys in terms of making sure, but as we make those 90s and then we try to do a bore and jacking on that side hill, both, you're gonna have a pit and a pit on both sides. You have to have a sending and a receiving pit in order to do a bore and jacking. And those pits will be definitely up the side slope and down the side slope as well. And by the nature of those, the closer we can keep those to the road, the better that contractors be able to actually have those pits, just based on the topography of that road. So we can definitely adjust alignment, and if that would be a consideration, we can definitely convey those crossings more angular so that we're being more precise as we come across that road, which would also allow us to do like a half and half in terms of, we trench open half, we close that half, we trench open the other to try to minimize that impact, recognizing that Brownsville still has alternatives, that we would still be advising our contractor that have do detours around the north and the south if they need to get access to Inglewood Road.
Well, there's a lot of trucks that are hauling from the Hull pit that haul from North Rochford Road and move north. The Inglewood Road isn't the only road out there, and what you're proposing, you may have to go down the Inglewood Road south and then come around. You're putting the burden on the people using the road.
Only for the crossings, though. Only for the crossings. And even then, like you said, we can definitely ensure that our traffic control is only, if a single lane passing would be acceptable, we can definitely ensure that that is what is needed for traffic control. On this, the contractor is responsible for doing the traffic control, and so we can ensure that that basically clear language that at no time Brownsville can be 100% closed, but they would have to have flaggers do like a one-way. That still minimizes the impact and still gets us out of Brownsville at a quicker pace than trying to maintain similar alignment or not having to do bores or anything else. So that's what we're requesting.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mr. Decker.
Well, scrutinizing your plans a little bit here, I think what Commissioner Flanagan is looking at is that station 108 plus a pair to 112 and a pair. You're in the road, center of the road, and then you continue on the shoulder, stations 118 in a pair and 122 in a pair. So then you're in the road that whole 400 feet, and then again for 200 feet at station 135 to 137. So that's 600, about 900 feet that you're going out in the road itself. I think that's.
I would say
is that what you-
115 to 118. We have a constriction. Like I said, we're trying to also operate in that the right of way isn't centered over the road itself either. So that's part of our restriction on that is trying to keep this in the right of way.
And what's that based on, Mr. Noble?
That's based on the GIS information.
Because this road does not have a platted right of way in that area until it gets over where the state did the platting right in front of John Ciegelo's.
And we got that information.
So typically you'd be 33 feet each side of the center of the road,
Okay.
the right of way. By practice, is that right, Mr. Alka?
Probably by state law that,
So you may have more latitude than you believe from the center line, which would allow you to get out of the road surface in those areas by putting a 12.5 degree bend in there or something. I mean, this shows a curve. You can't.
Yeah.
This isn't a high pressure pipe. It's jointed, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you can walk that around there. But I think we could avoid that 900 feet. Probably reduce it to 200 feet from the road. I understand down on John's.
We can, and we would definitely be open to presenting a cleaner version of this to show that it's truly, the intention is truly to be in the shoulder with the intention of still crossing it twice. And the reason being that if it's acceptable to the council, that trying to parallel the existing line poses a lot of risk to the contractor and to the district, ensuring that we still maintain water operations while we install this.
Yeah, being on the southerly side, because you're speculating that the existing line is in the north segment is a good idea until it changes.
Correct.
But I envision it as being off the shoulder if we could, for multiple reasons. But I don't think your right of way is depicted accurately because there's none platted that we found. So that might give you more latitude on where to put it and where to put your pits. And I was going to ask Alan. Alan, in some areas you like those trees removed because the road melts off quicker, right?
Right. We like to see trees out of the right of way because it puts more sunshine on the road. It keeps the ice off the road. Plus it gives the traffic better visibility for sight distance wise. Trees along the road in the right of way are, quite frankly, a safety hazard.
And then you can push your snow easier too. But it might be appropriate to look at some of these areas with Alan on the ground and see what trees can be removed. Work together on that.
As far as I'm concerned, any tree in the right of way and within the 33 foot from the center, he's right. People see a tree get cut down, they go crazy. In all honesty, the 33 foot law that can use this right to remove trees out of the right of way, whether they like it or not.
I would also just say though, counter to that, right, without the right of way being fully defined as it's been mentioned, one of the things that we've run into like that is people then stake the right of way. And if you don't have that as a clearly defined plan somewhere, staking that right of way is just 33 feet. It opens yourself up. I agree, you have a right of way for a reason. They're called encroachments for a reason. You try to ensure that you don't have those inside of your right of ways. I also know having dealt with, the public sees it a different way, a different reasoning than what you will see that.
Mr. Decker.
One last thing, just kind of in the weeds. In item 18, it talks about a 20% of the total contract bid bond for this work. You've got a pretty large bid with the tanks, pump station. So that's a pretty large performance bond for 20% of that project. $3 million project, and that's more than that.
Yes, and so ensuring that when we talk about warranty and we talk about ensuring that the contractor is being held responsible, this is a SRF state revolving fund funded project. In and itself requires a litany of protections, not only to the state but also to the client, and by default, the county for any work that's inside the county's right of way, that the contractor has to meet these minimum requirements, has to hold basically a higher level of quality to this, as well as that warranty and the performance bond is not a small thing that would not just be somebody's gonna just blow off or something.
Okay. Further question, Mr. Sleep?
It looks like it might be beneficial to go and take a look at this. Alan, it's time to see, two different ideas here. Get into the road rather than staying out of the farm and find benefits.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
To continue? Yeah. I'll second the motion to continue.
Okay, everyone understand the motion. Go ahead, Mr. Alco.
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that if you're gonna go out and do a viewing, that we do a notice of quorum and set a date and time so that the public could attend as well if they wanted to.
Okay. Proposed date?
Mondays and Tuesdays, right?
Mondays and Tuesdays are good. Alan?
Well, you're all here today. How about this afternoon after the meeting?
I can't do a notice of quorum that quickly. I mean, I can.
You have to publish this as a.
Yeah. I mean, I can do it, but it wouldn't be, no.
Wouldn't be kosher, is what you're saying.
Rather than having a quorum, I would suggest that the county commissioners schedule something with Alan individually, or he moves to two, less than three. Go with that.
Okay.
I just don't know what it was.
Yep. Well, it would make it easier, but then we don't have to do
I'll call the
notification.
question.
We can do this. Yep.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Everyone understand the motion? Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Please continue. Deer Mountain is done.
Mr. Chairman, I have another question.
Go ahead.
Joe, you have coordinated with MDU.
Correct.
This next time, right?
Correct. Which is similar, just FYI, that's similar. They're looking at open trench that as well. So.
Yeah, but Mike, Mr. Chairman.
Well, certainly.
Before I forget, I was gonna ask him the same, or another question.
Oh, sorry.
There's two items that I wanna make sure stay on in discussion, and one is that long warranty.
Okay.
Trenching and road along the road, we're gonna figure that out, figure out how to minimize that cross.
2 years.
Those are the two.
That's what you're looking at.
Longer than a year, for sure,
Yep.
at least, maybe with some more, but then to minimize.
And understand, yeah, warranty doesn't start until after final, so even if this work is done early on, which we would anticipate this work to be early in the phasing of this project, that warranty wouldn't start until after that final closeout date. So that gives you a little bit of extra time, but we can definitely consider having an additional warranty period in there as well.
I just want to get those two items.
Absolutely.
Whatever is fine. Thank you.
Okay, Alan?
Gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay. Sign on time, then?
You know, work with Alan.
Individually or work?
Well, we individually worked with Alan. I know that puts extra burden on you, Alan, I'm sorry, but.
As long as we don't do it this week, because I've got the deadline for the 5-year plan to get into gear by Thursday. So this week for me is kind of out.
Okay. Next one.
So we're about to MDU install roughly 7,000 foot of gas line. And I was told to contact Adam McCall, who contacted Commissioner Diver, did he contact you? Okay. So that's about where I'm at.
Questions?
Are they gonna open trench?
Well,
I can't tell by what's submitted.
he just said that they were, and this is all new to me too, because I just assumed that they were. But here again, that's what you assume. I think all of these utility companies know that we don't allow open trenching on any of our roads, gravel or pavement. We haven't in the 10 years that I've been here. No, well, there's been a gas line in Smith. And right now, I'm in a battle with SDN Communications for a line that they installed from Nemo down Nemo Road and across from Merit Estes Road. And they were out on the shoulder line and the ditch, swinging up on the shoulder of the road and then swing back down, avoid rock crossings. They damaged our road. We went out there, showed them the damage. And they're disputing it, saying, "Oh, this road was that way before we ever started." And I'm trying to get them to pay for 800 ton of gravel and for us to haul it and place it. And they're fighting. I got a meeting set up with them this week, next week, to adjust, come up with some kind of a solution as to the damages that they did to our road by installing this cable.
Okay, Mr. Douglas.
This is really hard to make a decision on, and that's all you have. It would be helpful if even they stake the line, so you can see where they're building it. And with what you just said, if they're only required a $5,000 bond, yeah, but they don't bid this. So there's no bid amount. So
What is the 5%?
yeah, so $5,000, I'm gonna walk away rather than pay for gravel, right? Give me the $5,000 and say adios. On this one, I think they needed a better plans, lay it out on the ground, and then we change the performance bond to something that's more appropriate if we do anything.
Mr. Flanagan.
Item 11 on the permit says underground installation is necessary, but not the installation challenged by pushing the board. Everything else is prohibited unless prior express written consent or permission is granted by the county. So permit wise, it says right there, under these terms, it's not, it won't be open trench unless we express the permission. So
Well, the area out there, as you've driven by it, is just nothing but solid, big rocks, boulders. I mean, I can see where the boring of lines in this area out here would be a real kind of thing.
but they're not asking, I don't see anywhere where they're asking for open trench. So it says they will do boring or pushing it unless we specifically ask for specific.
Well, yeah, but he just made the comment that they plan on open.
They can plan whatever they want. As soon as they do it, we stop.
So is this located in the road or in the shoulder or where is it?
This is alongside the road in the ditch.
Do you have a recommendation?
And this is on, this is a paved road we're talking about, so they can't be up on the shoulder. Last week, we went out there last week because their construction activity has damaged the new pavement, last year's pavement. We've got about a 60-foot place where the trucks turning out, they've been hauling material, have damaged the edge line or the shoulder or clear out into the driving path, wheel tracks of about 60 foot of this pavement. I went out there and met with the RCS construction guy. Oh yeah, we noticed that the other day, but don't worry, we'll fix it. That's the old famous words. Don't worry, we'll fix it. Well, yeah, they might fix it, but now we have a brand new pavement out there that's going to have a patch on it. And, that patch is going to be rough. It's going to fail first.
Do you have a recommendation?
What, for this line? Well, I'd already actually had recommended that we approve this one.
I move to
not
approve.
knowing that they were gonna open trench it, or if they are planning on it.
Move to approve with item 18 being a $50,000 surety bond
Okay.
Does,
to Lawrence County.
does the motion also include that there's a presumption that it's going to be not open trench? That's
I
going to be,
would just reinstate item 11.
Says so right in here.
I'll second that.
Okay. Commissioner Sleep?
There are a lot of other easements in the same area.
Everything is becoming in the right of way anymore. I mean, it's a nightmare out there with all the different cables and gas lines, and water lines, and sewer lines. Everything out there. Everything. Putting it in the right of way.
Okay. The motion on the table, everyone understand the motion with amendments? Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll have to add those and then we can sign that.
And it's gonna be, this is documents for it.
Could we just move a copy of the minutes with
Yeah, that needs to be in the minutes.
I would just cross it out and write it in for now and initial it. And then, and refer to the minutes.
on 50,000.
18.
And we'll just attach a copy of the minutes.
11 covers itself already.
50,000.
I would initial it.
Okay, now this is the one that I.
Looks like you're on to the purchase of a mowing tractor.
Well, let's discuss here. This plat submitted by Roger Wiley.
Roger is here.
Roger is in attendance. I initially, looked at this and said, well, this plat, the new easement shows it coming off of the Higgins Gulch or the Meadow or the Higgins Lane Road. But now Mr. Riley is disputing that, saying, no, it's going to be coming from the north down from off of the Moeller Road. So even though you've got the bench up above and then you drop off a cliff down this lower part, he says, he shows it that he has this easement, but there is no road in place. I don't know if there's even a trail there. So thus I've said, well, I'm not comfortable in signing this until the commissioners take a look at it. And if they want to approve it and give me authorization to sign this plat, I will do so. That's why we're here today. Mr. Riley, you want to add any?
Yeah, can you pull that down anymore? Other way, it's the other direction. So, this piece right here, you pull it, go down again so we can see where I'm at.
Well, stand by.
Okay, so right here, this is one piece that was cut off in 2004 or 5, and the access to this piece came through this piece right here, where I have an easement through. That's where the easement's through right now to get down to here. And so this guy wanted to buy this piece from me, which is what we're doing. So if you now scroll down again, look the other direction. So there's Moeller Road right there. That's how he gets into his piece. So nothing's changed. Nothing's changed in this whole thing. He's got access. It's his own land he's going across.
His driveway down to his house, but I don't see a road from his house down to where you're talking there, Roger.
Well, there's a road right here, right down to here already. Yeah. But the point is, this guy is just buying his own. He's just buying a piece of land that attaches to his property.
Dr. Alka.
Roger, is that piece that he wants to purchase to add, is that below then? Is that below the bench?
Below the bench.
Yeah.
And we did cut a road down here to get down to here. It's not access from down here, it's access from up here. That's why we did the easement to start with.
It maybe isn't relevant, but I'm curious. Is there a reason why he would want that piece down below him that's probably you physically can't get to?
No, his deck is right here overlooking that piece. He didn't want me to put something down there.
Okay.
Mr. Driver.
So he's taking a 40-acre parcel and adding 40-plus acre parcel and adding 3.5 to 4 acres to it. And the other lot is reducing from about 6 acres to 3 acres.
Yes.
3.3.
And the driveway is already built to the small 4B1A1, which is 3.3 acres. It's already an access, which is a driveway to that.
Right.
So the only public access that the highway signature would be signing for is on the section line, which is Moreland Road. Yes, on the north end. So this is already platted, so we're making 2 lots into 2 lots. The orange shows the old lot, and the hatching shows where they're removing that and adding it to this. This is all one big lot now.
And he's got a big driveway. That existing house, so yeah. So I'd make the motion to allow highway superintendent to sign this plat. The understanding, if you put this in a minute, the understanding is that's a driveway. It guarantees nothing from the county that access is anything other than what it is. That it's a driveway, but for plotting purposes, it's required, I think, to have a highway signature on it, if I'm not mistaken, so.
I'll second that. And I'll just make the comment that it's solely for the Motor Road portion.
Right.
That's what we're approving. But it's not the motion, it's just my comment.
I mean, it's a driveway, but he has to have a signature from somebody for some reason, so that's what it is.
It's a private right. It's not gonna be a public highway, right? And I don't know if the new property owner ever plans on developing down there. Is he planning on building it?
No,
He's not.
Okay, we have a motion to second on the table. Everyone understand that motion? Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I can add to the Spearfish asked me about this plat, and this is how we came. That would be the best way to do it because that bottom piece really doesn't mean anything to anybody because it's rock cliff.
Okay.
Mr. Schmuck is here too.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, we gotta finish with Alan real quick. Yep. I apologize, we're a little behind.
More on skid steer.
Thank you.
Alan, you're looking for a mower and a skid steer, huh?
Well, yeah.
You got other things?
In next year's budget, which has been officially approved for equipment needs, next year, 2023, I listed the mowing and tractor. It's gonna have twin mowers on it, one on the side and one in the rear. And, that was a budgeted item for $260,000. The other item was track skid steer loader, a budgeted item for $102,000. The track skid steer loader is the piece of equipment that we're going to be mowing that asphalt mill on, which we just got. You probably just seen the bill for it. That's what that mill is going to go on this track skid steer loader. But, so having said all of that, both companies are, well, number one, it takes considerable amount of time now from the time you order a piece of equipment to the time it's delivered. Our backhoe that we ordered last end of November, 1st of December of last year is now scheduled to be built the end of January of 2023. That's how long we're waiting for equipment. So that's one of the reasons that I would like to go ahead and get authorization from the board today to get these pieces of equipment ordered. Plus the other reason being that both companies have indicated that with the skid steer loader, there's going to be a 5% increase after the first of the year. Well, a 5% on our current price that we have here of $102,977, that's $5,100 that would cost us more for that. The mowing tractor one, they've indicated, they've told the mowing people, Tiger Mower, it's going to have a John Deere tractor under it. That
increase is going to be, they don't come out and say yet, but it's going to be a 10 to 15% increase at the beginning of the year. And that would amount to a $24,179.17 at the 10%, or a $36,268 increase if it's at 15% after the first year. So it would save us a considerable amount of money. by
Commissioner
getting
Flanagan.
it replaced.
Have they given you any idea how long it's gonna take to deliver?
The skid steer loader, they thought we could get that delivered sometime in next winter in February or March. The mowing tractor, they don't have an idea.
At the end of the day, we don't get those bills, that stuff shows up.
Right, we don't pay.
I make a motion to allow highway superintendent to place these orders. Second, with the understanding that we pay on arrival after.
Right, it would be coming out of next year's budget. But here's the deal, we budgeted to pay for the backlog of this year's budget.
We're getting around the bidding process by purchasing off of one of those system or one of those
We're
services.
all upside down now with the.
We'll go through Commissioner Sleep.
Is there something special about the skid steer there? Is that $102? Oh, I misunderstood that. Because that's way out of line with that.
This is a track skid steer with a high flow hydraulic pump set up for this mill to be attached to it. It also has the normal standard bucket to it.
We talked about that during budget. Dr. Alka.
I think maybe the auditors are going to bring up too, Alan. So normally both of these items would have to be bid, but you're anticipating purchasing these from one of those pre-bid services?
Off of the source well, both items will be off of the source well contract, yes.
You have the contract numbers.
I don't have them on these quotes. But right now, all I have is the quotes. But yeah, they were provided. Is there a contract number? I think there was on one of these.
If not, Alan, can you get those? Because we do need to have those.
Right.
Would the motion be contingent upon having those?
Yes.
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 Okay, per source well contract.
I think so.
Number 0321109-TAP-CAT.
That for both of them?
That's for the skid steer.
Mr. Chairman, I'll call the question.
Okay. Everyone understand the motion? Go ahead.
Matter of order, I call the question.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same side. Go ahead, Richard.
I was curious how many hours you have on
The tractor that we're replacing, what year is that?
It's in 1994.
94. Yeah, it's that old John. The old John Deere tractor.
Anything else? Mr.
One
Flanagan.
last thing, can you talk with the sign contractor about fixing the stone sign?
Yeah, I never noticed it. Mr. Whalen is in here. I wanted to bring this up. I should have brought this up months ago. At Nemo, a couple years ago at least, if not longer, the sheriff met with citizens Nemo, and one of the suggestions came out of from those meetings was having one of these radar speed signs put up down there at Nemo. The flashing one that will flash if you're going exceeding the speed limit and to slow people down, okay? And like I said, this has probably been going on over 2 years now. And I did price them out earlier this spring, and they're about $5,200 per sign. They're a solar sign, solar panel, solar battery panel. And so before I went and ordered them, I wanted the board to be aware of that's what I am proposing on doing, is ordering these 2 signs for down to Nemo. It's 25 miles an hour through Nemo, right? Okay, so we would put up these 2 solar signs. They would be the first 2 solar powered signs of this type that Lawrence County would have on any of our roads, if the board is okay with knowing what we're trying to do here, okay, by approval.
All right, Mr.
You
Planning.
have room in your budget to do this, to purchase signs and sell them.
Right, we would purchase the signs, we will install, they will be our signs to maintain in the future. I don't know, I'm not familiar with solar powered signs, how long, you know, they're battery driven, so obviously there's a lifespan of the battery. Doing the research of the different, there's a couple of different brands. I tried to pick the one that had the best ratings out there and the one that will last the longest, so that's.
Anything else?
Anything else?
Okay, I apologize to those in the audience, we're a little behind. Lee?
Okay.
Please, please leave.
Thank you. Okay, we've been working with Paul for about 3 years now on this road sign.
You can sit down if you want. You can sit down.
Okay. And somewhere or another, I got elected president of the Rural Fire, Spearfish Rural Fire Board, but we have some real concerns in that. I know the Spearfish Fire Department does too, with all the new subdevelopments going in and the housing and that of emergencies. And I'm not sure where we're standing on it. I think, Paul, there's a state law, something about 911 signs. Oh, okay. Well,
It wasn't a state law, it was a county ordinance.
oh, okay. Well, the Spearfish Rural Fire Board would like to work with the county in just doing the Spearfish role in that, and trying to put in some of this, the 911 signs. I guess that's about where it's at. But we know that Spearfish Canyon put them in, but it doesn't really meet standard. So we would like to be able to, we have some money and we're wondering what the county could do with us on putting in this rural signing in that, because it's gonna, sooner or later, there's gonna be a catastrophe because people can't find where they wanna go. And I know the statement's been made, you can just use GPS. Well, anybody's ever used GPS, have you ever wound up on the wrong road? So I guess that's kind of where we're at. I was directed by the board of the Rural Fire District to talk to you guys and see what the county commissioners, and see what we could set up maybe as a demonstration project or something for the county. Because I think the entire, with what's going on, I can't find something in my own neighborhood anymore.
It's an issue all over. What's the cost that you anticipate at this point?
You did some work on that, didn't you, Paul?
Yeah, we looked at the regular delineators posts. Yeah, I had it figured out. The regular delineator posts coming from the same contractor that highway uses. Posts are about $8.22 a piece, and if you buy them by 100, the signs are like $18.30 a piece. So you're looking $27. But you're gonna have shipping, and the big thing here is installation. You gotta have a 911 locate for every sign. You gotta drive that post in. Somebody's gotta go out and mark where the post's gonna go. So 911, every one of them has to have a different permit. 811. Yeah, 811. Sorry. Yeah. And you gotta have a different mark for every post. You gotta have a different permit for every post. And then get somebody to put it. So it's not really the cost of
The sign is the cheap part.
purchasing the parts. It's the putting in. Dave from the weed thought maybe they could do that in their off time. Dave was actually looking at the square posts, but those are way out of cost prohibitive. That's what we use for our roads. For these little address signs.
We're also hoping that for new construction, if that could be part of, if you want to, for any new construction subdevelopments, as a minimum, have the contractor put those in, and that would be a cost of built for lot, just on new construction. That would get the ball rolling now.
We've been over this a time or two,
Yeah.
but go ahead, Mr. Diver.
Well, good news is we're in the middle of our new signage program. You've seen the new signs coming out.
Yeah.
And that's good news, right? Had you talked with Lactose Council and local governments about any grants that might apply here?
No, we have not.
I think that's a good resource. And then
in the most of your area, or a lot of it's in the 3 mile territorial, which we don't oversee right now, and then we make other plats.
Okay.
And they haven't changed that ordinance on platting since their last revision, 2000 maybe. And so it could be included in that. They dictate that in the subdivision ordinance. And if it's in the building permit side, we can have some input. But I'm curious, as an example, what the city's doing on the backside lookout, where it's all in the city limits.
We have not dealt with the city at all. That's basically what we're concerned is the spearfish role people in that. And we're seeing a lot of subdevelopments in our area. And I know I have talked to the interim fire chief. He said, we're worried there's going to be a fire. We don't know how the heck to get there. And it's the ambulance people. And that point was brought up to me by the ambulance people. They said they're going to get there, but it might be 15 minutes to 20 minutes later. And
My thought was the rural subdivisions that are within the city limits would be consistent. See what I mean?
Yeah, I see that.
Work with them, because it's the same fire department.
Right.
So even though they're in the city,
You are.
consistency of laws, right?
we have not approached the city at all. And all we have with the city is a contract to provide fire protection.
They have their own ordinance.
Yeah. But we've been kind of fooling around with this for 2 or 3 years now. It doesn't seem to be going. It's part of the problem. And sooner or later, I think it's got to get done.
Yep.
So, and I really don't know how to go any farther with it. And I was directed by the board to come talk to you guys and express our concerns. Go ahead, Mr. President.
I think that, we know about $30 per sign, but how many are there?
Last time I looked at it was October 21, a year ago, 6,275.
Yeah.
So you're looking at about $20,000 in just materials.
Several hundred.
$200,000.
Yeah.
$200,000.
Yeah. So the whole thing was probably 500,000 or more. Yeah, and I know dealing with Paul, his main concentration has been on trying to get the whole county done, in that. Where our emphasis is just the spearfish, and not because we're selfish, it's just the spearfish rural fire district. That's all we. That's your area of protection. Yeah, that's our area of concern. I really don't, and I do know from working with the Forest Service and that, you gotta have somebody who's gonna write the contract, enforce the contract, and pay the contract or inspect the contract. Mr. Duggar.
I think you reach out to Blackhawk Council of Local Governments because we are a member. They can furnish those services and local grants for you. But Paul has that connection.
Okay.
They're gonna be here later today too.
Okay.
That would be your agency that's set up to do that for you.
Yeah. That's more information than
We pay that fee.
So that's more information than I have before.
As your political district, you can use it.
I didn't know that you cannot use 911.
Yeah, go ahead.
Amber? If you guys wouldn't mind, Jeff is here. Do you want to tell him what we've been doing with new construction? With the 911 signs? Been trying to. We've been giving them all new construction, like new we can deal with because they come in and get a building permit, whatever. We've been trying to give them the documents on like the kind of the sheet that we had done with Paul that kind of says this is the type of sign that should be up. I would say some of them are doing them on their own.
Most new houses at least have them on the house.
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
The green sign out
Yeah,
by the driveway.
subdivisions are not putting it at the end of the driveway. It's 30 foot long, but most of them put them on the house.
That still doesn't do them any good.
And that's only where you're issuing those too.
Correct. That's only the stuff we're doing. I don't know about anybody else.
They still have 911 in the ordinance, so if it's their building permits, they're making.
As far as I know,
they have to do.
The issue is
it may not be on the roads,
yeah.
It'll be on the houses.
Yeah. That's really what it comes down to is the majority of this. The landowners don't. If we ask them to put it on the house, they usually don't have a problem. I honestly, if we would tell them you can pay the county, I don't know, $60. I don't know. We could collect it as part of the building permit fee, and then furnish the sign. I think people will do it. It's hard to have. What are you going to have all those numbers sitting where you go over? get them or what, you know, I mean, that's the thing. That part is doable on new construction. Old construction, there's no way besides doing it.
Inside, if you go to Powder House past those little short driveways, nobody's gonna want 911 posts and anything in their little driveways. They'll put them on the houses with no problem. That's what the
Commissioner Flanagan.
Part of that issue is consistency. So all
Yeah.
the signs are all the same height off the ground, all look the same.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, that's what we're looking for, Matt, is so that at 2 in the morning when somebody has a fire, they, you know, we know what the address is, that's all there. You can go out there and you can see where in the heck you're supposed to be going. And the ambulance service even has a bigger problem than we do. And I guess, you know, when we're saying people don't want to buy their house, I'm not gonna go to other states, but it's pretty common in a lot of places where that sign is out there. I guess what we would like to see is a minimum, any new construction, they put the sign there as part of the building permit or whatever it is. That would get the ball rolling. I know this isn't gonna happen overnight.
We do need to clean up everything else though.
Yeah. I mean, you know, for our house, we've got a sign out there, we got a post and that, it's out by the thing, but it's not that easy to see, I'll be honest about that, you know, so that's kind of our concern is in that, and we have some money to do that with because of the mill levy that we put in for, you know, we were thinking maybe the Spearfish, working with the county, the Spearfish Rural Fire District could be kind of an example for the rest of the county.
So I think one of the main problems we're gonna run into is just what Jeff has mentioned. I think the county needs to work on an ordinance or a plan or something, because when you go to that powder house, I agree, they're not gonna want a sign there when their house is 50 feet away. But in the city of Spearfish, there says if you're so many feet from the road, you gotta have it, you can have it on your house. If you're further than that, then you need it out by the road. And so maybe as an ordinance, those houses in Powder House are close enough to have it by their door. However, there's houses that are 200 or 300 feet back. You're not gonna know that till you run into all of them to see what their address is. By then, you're too late.
Mr. Douglas.
Dr. Outlet, does a fire district have the authority to require this
I don't know.
outside the county?
I don't know. And another question that I'm kind of mulling over, and I don't know the answer is to the extent that you have existing houses that you can compel them to put a sign up on their property. I mean, it seems like maybe you can, but I mean, there could be a takings issue that I would have to sort out. Now, there's a separate question of if the roads are publicly dedicated and there's a 66-foot right of way, and that, you know, putting it in the right of way as opposed to being on private property, that maybe makes the issue easier. But it's not obvious to me that the county can just require go out and put signs in on somebody's property.
I don't think they'd be in the front, they'd be in the right.
We have to be very clear about that.
Let that be, you would end up with private driveways, because let's take, for instance, the Wiggins, they were the only house at the end of the road. Well, they would have a sign out at Bill Bell Road. Well, now there's 2 or 3 of them, and they had to name that as a road. Now, it would be in front of their residence. And I think the clear answer to your question, Bruce, is we look at Minnesota, look at the states that have already done it, and see how did they do that.
Yeah, we have to be careful, but there might be different state law.
When I came across Minnesota, there was not a driveway on the entire 212 that didn't have one of those signs.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, maybe Paul and Mr. Schmuck can get together and talk about probably how many residences are there. Explore the idea with Jennifer and see if there's any funding issues, and then we can talk about some of these other things too, and then probably come back later on. And how much money is the fire district do they have available, and or they're willing to commit is probably going to be a question that will come up as well. I can't speak for the county commissioners, but they're probably going to want to know what the final cost would be, the estimate, and what share of that are they going to be asked to contribute.
Okay.
I have quick notes here for you.
Okay, great. I'll get with Paul. Okay. Yeah, so, but that was our main concern, is we'd like to see this happen in that, because it's a public safety hazard, I think, it really is.
I agree with you.
And, you know, Paul mentioned Minnesota, I grew up there, this was done back in the 70s and 80s. In that, so, and people don't seem to be all that upset about it. It's just a
simple post with a sign on it with a number. It doesn't say on a road or anything like that, just your number and that. But, and as far as I know, as far as doing all that, Tom Sanders is the last one doing it.
I didn't read the
Yeah,
whole note.
and as we all know, there's kind of a bunch of building going on in town. So that's all I really had, and I will get with Paul on this, so.
I think we're more than willing to work with you.
Okay. The unfortunate part.
I'm one part of the five, but.
The unfortunate part is my term as president of the fire district runs out soon.
Oh.
So I can, well, I can take work.
So it's fine.
Yeah, well, you can be president.
We can move the goal.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Anyone need a break?
And I'll get with you then, Paul.
Jeff is here.
Anyone need a break? Hearing none, Jeff.
Oh, sorry.
Cindy? Morning.
Good morning.
Got some CUP reviews to take care of, and one request here. This is City Gillis. I'm sure most of you know her. I don't know what, with Service Road. She has a CUP. She had it for temporary, second temporary residence for a hired hand. She's losing her hired hand, who's moving to Wyoming, and she's requesting approval to change that to have her daughter and husband move onto the property to become the hired hands, and as well remove an old modular home and put a new modular home down there. Just requested that be done. So if you have any questions for Cindy.
Go ahead, Flanagan.
Do you have any concerns, staff, any concerns or recommendations or?
For this, no concerns about this, but she switched once before.
I was thinking
and it went from a family member to a hired hand to now.
Commissioner Dudley.
Dr. Outgood, this, we can do this without a public hearing or anything, just modify it.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
That being said, I would move to approve the change to a family member and whatever residence needs to be moved.
Okay. Motion to second on the table. Any further questions or discussion?
Hey,
Bob.
Sorry.
You're fine. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
All right.
That's it.
Took care of that.
We'll update the paperwork and then resend it to you so you have the current.
Exactly.
Yep.
And you want to talk to you about it?
Yeah, I'll come and talk to you. Yep, thanks, guys.
All right, I got some CPs for, most of them are mining, their annual reviews. First one I have is 373 for the Herm pit. We've had no complaints on this. You can see what they've provided for their annual report, and we just recommend another review in a year as we do.
Okay.
Question. You don't need to. On the second one is for the Evans pit, 400. Johnner has all these. Again, we've had no complaints, and see your annual report, and we'll do another one next year. 435 is gravel pit at Canyon Creek, Charles Edwards. When I first started, I got a lot of complaints, but we haven't had any in quite some time for that one. Johnner's taken that over, which is a good thing. No changes, no violations or issues, so we'll do another one in another year.
Why don't you skip to the Eaton one and then come back to
Okay.
Canyon Cap?
And the last one is for the Eaton pit, 456. And once again, same thing, no problems, no issues. There's your annual report as required, we'll do it another year.
Mr. Duggar.
Do you know, are they crossing our new bridge now?
Well,
There wasn't there stipulation not to go that way before?
You on the Charles?
No, on the Eaton pit, that's the one out on Lookout. They go north towards.
I guess I don't know.
We haven't changed any conditions with it, so
Yeah, I
whatever
guess I don't
conditions
know
were
that one.
standing at the time are still
We
in
wouldn't
there.
let them go across our bridge, but it was supposed to, that's a weight limit, so now they meet the weight limits. So, homestead, whatever. I can't remember if we had a stipulation. Anyway, it might be worth looking at. We got a new bridge now.
Last one I have is for 445 for the taxi driver for Katie Cab, David Wilson. He sold the property, didn't let everybody know. He's requested that it be canceled. He did not send me an email.
We tried, we'll put it this way, he had a few unchoice words for us and basically said he wasn't going to, just to cancel it, and that was all he was gonna give us. I won't even go into the detail, we'll just cancel it.
We'll just.
And then they did move it. It's inside city limits though. It's inside city limits and it is zone commercial where they moved it.
I had the floor. So all of the new location is over right by the soccer field. And it's within the city limits. Accept cancellation. Second.
So it's canceled.
Yep.
And that's all those. Thank you, Jeff.
I don't know if we need to vote on canceling that one or.
I think normally we just updated that, we put the minutes in that it was canceled. And I don't know, Bruce, do you want it in the minutes, I guess, that they canceled it officially? That's usually all we do.
We had a motion.
We have a motion and a second,
That's
so
all we
all
do.
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
There's
We have
no
a motion and a second, it has been canceled. Perfect.
And are you gonna send him a letter saying we cancel it?
I don't know that he wants to hear.
We can. We'll just send him a copy of the minutes. Yeah. It was an. I did talk.
I'm used to.
Oh my God, it was the most interesting when I told him.
All right. Okay then.
Kind of like with the other funds, that other 5 million. Yep, same thing.
Good job. Thank you.
John, how are you?
I'm getting all okay. Nice summer weather. Nice summer weather.
Well, I know, but I'd like a little more fall hunting weather.
So like 6 months of fall, that's what I think. It's my favorite time of year.
Well, the leaves are changed, it looks like fall.
It's gorgeous up there.
All over, I was over by Eureka this week, and it's changing over there too. But boy, they got by.
Yeah.
Wasn't gonna be there this weekend. There's a lot of archery.
I think so, yeah, I had that drawing, I never heard from those guys back, so I guess we'll see how it goes today. Yep. We're a little bit behind, so.
Okay.
That's just the way of the world in this room.
Yep.
They're always behind on time. I'm gonna do this afterwards.
Easter even.
Just recently.
Yeah.
Close that off, John.
Yeah. Go Buffalo. Just a couple miles past the county line and stuff. Well, it's on Swan Pass. From the north. Going down.
There's a bunch down just south of here, right off the interstate.
It's amazing. What's that?
Mike, are you here for anything for me? Okay, I was just making sure. I was like, I don't think I have anything from.
I don't have bad words to say.
Just the CID stuff, maybe? Okay.
Just the annexation.
Okay, I was just making sure there was, like, I don't have a cloud on here.
I'm in meetings where I should be as well. What are you doing?
Yeah. We got quite a few, don't we?
I'll try to get you caught up, but I
Oh,
can't
if
promise
possible
that.
at this point. We'll get
Can't
close.
promise.
You give us call?
Yeah, try to. Sometimes I do.
I'll sit,
Sometimes I do.
I'll sit up here. So
You're not first.
You're not first though.
No.
Well, you can sit here if you really want.
You just can't vote.
Can't count. Board certified.
Oh. That would be.
Proposed ordinance changes.
Okay, so, planning and zoning, Thursday, just on Thursday. We went through this proposed work schedule as well as items to kind of go through. Before I get going too far, I wanted to make sure there wasn't any additions that the county commissions had that they wanted us to look at. This is a pretty, I asked the board members, they all seemed okay to kind of this schedule. We're working on some dates that'll work for some special work session days, which we've done in the past this time of year. So we've got the dates at the top is kind of what we're hoping for. These are kind of items that we have assigned in the office as well as who to work with. I've talked to Randy, obviously, as a county commissioner, but also as a surveyor, and Adam Thompson as a surveyor. They're both willing to kind of help us tackle this plat section for kind of, is there anything that we should be changing because the laws are changed, or maybe we're outdated with what we're requesting, or is there a clearer, conciser way to, list everything? So that's going to be something that Janet's going to be tackling. The road profiles and road buildings. I'm not going to get as winded as happened at planning and zoning. It really went down a turn there. Yeah, so I think that's just something, we'll see what happens, but I think you were going to kind of work with it as you. Okay. Perfect. Okay.
Yep.
So there was some stuff there. Design, kind of same thing. I think we're probably kind of to a point that we need kind of a total overhaul on our design standards. Some of them aren't matching other areas, but I almost feel like, do we need to wait till we know who's going to be in that position? I don't really know where to go with that, so it might be one of those that just kind of sits there for a little while. We have a lot of definitional things, but we usually do, when we kind of do this review process, we might see definitions that need to be changed or added, just because that's just part of it. Campgrounds is a big one that we're going to be working on. Lots of district review stuff, basically going through each zoning district and, just looking at them like we try to. We did have some discussion on a multifamily zoning district. Currently, none of our districts allow it, but yet we're seeing more and more of it, especially closer to city limits. So around Spearfish, around Deadwood, around Lead. Just some planned unit development items that need to be fixed. I found some old language throughout that we just missed last time we did it, so we need to kind of fix some language. Talking about districts, lots of possible additions to CUPs and or allowed uses. These are the lists of the last year, things that we've had come up. So your breweries, distilleries, UTD, ATD usage, vacation home rentals, wedding venues, medical marijuana dispensaries, growing facilities, manufacturing, campgrounds, multifamily housing, ADUs, guest houses, etc. Mobile home park, that's something that's been brought up a couple times. We've had a couple of requests outside city limits, but close enough that they can get services of possible mobile home park, new mobile home parks, but I don't really have a zoning that kind of allows that anymore.
Mr. Pike, I think water and sewer are two requirements.
Yeah. Yep.
Mr. Geiger.
Well, I think that what we did have was antiquated anyway, because the construction of the new homes is so much different than what we think of in 1960.
Yeah, and we don't really have a section that's like, none of our zoning districts really spell out how we would go about that. And I think it's needed at this time because we're going to continue to see development outside of Spearfish, especially. I've had 2 requests out there that could get water and sewer, but I didn't have anywhere to put them. So I think it's something that we probably need to look
Maybe
at.
that into the planning and development zoning district.
Well, not how it is, because the PUD, that's part of why my discussion before that the PUD needs to be looked at, because we have an acreage requirement in there. It's a 20-acre minimum. And a couple of the parcels are like 12 or 9, So there's some stuff there. Floodplain, this is more so just a note for me. We're currently working with Spearfish. If you remember, we had that lower valley area that we were working on that whole time. We just don't want it to get forgotten about because we will probably be doing the 90-day review. I think they were looking at January, February-ish. So this is more just so I don't forget because I don't want to see that all that work go away. But they don't, as far as I know, I don't think Spearfish has hired any, have they now? Okay, for that position. So I just keep kind of in touch with Kyle Mathis to make sure it doesn't get forgotten about. Site plan, we've had this discussion before, but I just want to fix it so it's the same requirements across the board, whether it's a building permit or a, whatever it is. Administrative changes, zonings, we talked about this. Map hasn't been updated since 2018. This one's a draft one. I have the original upstairs that's signed. It's just time. We haven't done, we need to adopt the whole map again so that she can do a reprint of the whole thing. And then we have some areas of possible administrative changes, zonings. We haven't done that process since I think the last time was 2005. Does that sound right, Brandon? I think it was 2005. But we have some areas that now Spearfish city limits and Deadwood city limits and Lead, we're kind of reaching some of those buffer areas that we need to deal with. Building permits, Jeff's going to work on this section. The 911 address stuff, I knew that was going to be coming up. I don't know how you guys want to deal with it, but it is, I mean, we're trying to deal with it the best we can right now, at least having something on the building. New fee schedule for 2023, we will be asking for an increase to the building permit fees. We haven't done that for, I think we're going on about 5 years since the last time we increased our building permit fees. Commercial reviews for an added fee. I'm going to be requesting this at the next meeting because I don't want to, we're still seeing commercial development. A good example is Shining Crossing right now. Tom is going to work on that one with us as kind of his last project before he's no longer with the city because he's been helping us with that at no fee, no cost, but we're probably going to lose that from the sounds of it. And so I'm actually going to be presenting you with a contract to go into 2023 because it wasn't budgeted because I didn't know this was going to happen, to request that we are allowed to contract or sign the contract for Tom Paisley to help us into at least 2023 till we figure out what we're going to do. So I'll present that next month. Size restrictions in our building permit section, it's 144 square feet, but the IBC code is 200 square feet for when you need a building permit. So we think they should be consistent. It's just a consistency thing. It gets kind of confusing when we're saying one thing, but the IBC code says another. Water and wastewater, this was just a note. Jeff's going to work on this a little bit. Some of our regular, I mean, we haven't had that section really updated at all, probably since the 80s, 90s. There really isn't anything. Some of it I think is still okay from the state standpoint, but is it what the county wants to see? I think is kind of going to be the question. We have a couple of areas that are no septic systems allowed, and that's out by the Bellfish Water Infiltration District. Do we have other areas that we need to look at or not? I don't know. It's just one of those sections that we need to, it's time. Variances, I'm going to request all variants that in the ordinance that says a survey has to be done as part of the variance application. Currently, we don't have that.
Mr. Flanagan.
You might check, and that's kind of was a discussion years ago. Every time you start doing those, just to look and see if your variance requests are all the same. You know, you've got a small acreage in the front setback, or one of the setbacks that's consistent. If you're getting requested changes, it might review just those to see if we should change setbacks for some. In some instance, yeah, you know, under a certain acreage or something, the setbacks change. And I think there's some of that already in place. But
yeah, I don't know how to. I think the one thing that we talked about was what Spearfish does.
A percentage or whatever it is.
Yeah, you know, if you have a corner lot, what's the frontage?
Yeah.
For example.
But that's what I'm saying. That's always a good time to review those kind of things. If you have if all the requests for variance are pretty much the same, and that's one area that might be the change to the regulations.
Yeah, I think front setbacks are usually our issue in those. So I don't know. I do like how Spearfish does it, and they also quit doing it. They do it as an administrative approval if it follows, like it's a percentage or there's 2 front locks, you can decide sort of a thing, and that might be a way to deal with it.
I just thought this was a good time.
But yeah,
just to,
I'll add that.
have a discussion and maybe nothing changes, but.
Okay, I'll add that in. And then sign regulations, it's one of those things, Bruce and I have talked about it for I don't know how many years. We know they're outdated. We just don't really deal with, I mean, we do somewhat. Off-premise, on-premise signs are no longer allowed. If you look at, they are in our ordinance, but that's not how most the industry standard is anymore. So we can do that, but I need you to go into it with an open mind because it's a very standard regulations on signage is not like our signs are. So you have to change your thought process altogether. The on-premise and off-premise no longer exist. That's not how it works. And that's in an industry standard. If you look at Spearfishes, they don't do that anymore. I think Pennington County changed theirs a couple years ago. And I'm pretty sure City did, which is always different. But you can't regulate content, basically. So that it's just a very different model of what is out there right now. So that's going to be a big change, and I know that. So this is a big list. If I get all this done in the next 5 months, I'll be impressed. But I think in order of what you see on the list is kind of my goal.
Yeah.
And we'll get as much done as we can and, you know, keep working on them. The biggest thing that we've done in the past, I guess, is I think, and Bruce, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think you guys have, when I presented these before, the county commission, I believe, has put in the minutes that the planning and zoning board is the work session or work board, or I don't know the right word.
They provide
say.
recommendations. Yeah.
Because they're going to be the ones working on this, but that's not part of their regular P&Z board duties, I guess. But that's how we've done it. And then you've allowed us to call in, as we say, experts. Like I'm going to ask surveyors questions for the surveyor stuff. I'm going to ask, you know, certain people questions about the things. So that's what I'm wondering, if you are okay with having them work on this with me.
Cameron discussed it with them and they seem to be on board with it.
They all seemed okay to
We need a
continue.
motion or just a general?
I think it's okay. I think they understand.
To not object.
Yeah. I just don't want to start working on it and then all of a sudden you guys were like, wait a minute, why are you working on this?
So you're gonna do it in public meetings with public notice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We've always invited whoever. We just put an agenda out saying we're meeting today and we sit in the room and literally go through the ordinance. So anybody wants to come sit and do that, please show up. So that's it on that. Next one, John, you're up. I'm glad you're here because I really didn't want to talk about this.
Okay.
I did give it to planning and zoning on Thursday. They don't usually see these, but I did give them a heads up. Bob was there really, you guys didn't really, just listened and said okay, and I said you'd be here today.
Thank you.
They have copies of this letter.
And the
I did not do the full attachment, so.
Oh, okay.
I have them, and I think Bruce gave them one that there was a question on.
Well, this is a petition to annex and add 33 acres on the north end of Powderhouse Pass, property that they had purchased several years ago, with the idea that it would continue to be residential, consistent with all the other property that's developed on that side of the road. The statute was pretty clear as to what needed to be provided in the petition. I think I supplied all of that. And it's basically asking you to approve the petition. I will prepare an order if you do agree, and then we will move ahead with the development.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Now, can you remind the board what statute says regarding what the county commissioners shall do in this process?
Well, they have to consider the issues or the items that are raised in SDCL 75-25-841, which include, I think that sets it out in a letter, but it includes the legal description. Make sure that the
the district votes to accept it, it has to be presented by the owners of the property that are requesting to be annexed. That is BH Development. They own 100% of the property, and they're asking that to be brought in. It requires that the provide a copy of the order. You should, there is a copy of the order. The district was created November 9th of 2010, and then it addresses the cost of the infrastructure that would be built, an estimate, and that's 600, you know, you don't have the exhibits, but that's 640 some thousand dollars, $624,000. There is a survey map in there that was provided in the application, which indicates that it shows the property that's to be annexed. There are two pieces of BLM land that is included in there. The BLM has approved government lot number 5. There would be potential for a road that would run in there, so we have a permit for that. It requires a statement as to the economic impact in Lawrence County. That is enclosed. There was the original one that was done by Darrell Haig Jar. Mr. Jar is no longer around, and so the statement that is in there is one that was prepared by Mr. Cashman, who has been involved with this project from the start, and it's an extension of the goals and economic impact that was originally identified in the original application, and also those benefits that you would expect to continue with the annexation of this piece of property. So again, that's what we're asking. Thank you.
Questions? What is it?
The one BLM property is completely surrounded. Is that unusual? Yes. Well, it is in the long-term goal in conjunction and suggestion of BLM is that that Powerhouse Pass end up buying that piece of property, or exchanging that piece of property. But as you know, the process is not something that takes months, it takes years, and that's why the right-of-way that was granted through the BLM is for that piece. But eventually, that will be part of Powerhouse Pass.
And a follow-up, the vote, how does that work? Is it the board of directors or the residents, or how does the vote work?
The annexation is voted on by the board of supervisors for Powerhouse Pass.
Thank you. So what is needed from us?
Make a motion to not object, essentially, to approve the resolution as the form. Is that fair, John?
I think it would probably be better because the Powerhouse Pass was created by order of this commission. I think an order allowing or granting the annexation would be a better way to go. And so I would prepare such an order if the vote.
Granting annexation pending approval of the board of supervisors.
No, that's already been approved. All of that is done. It's here for your approval. You have to approve the annexation.
I would move to acknowledge the annexation as presented. Second.
Okay. Further questions, discussion from anyone?
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, Amber?
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Amber?
I just wanted to clarify, because this is going to come up, I've talked to John about it. This annexation has no bearing on the current Park Forest zoning that property is. It is not zoned PUD, so they cannot follow the PUD regulations. Because I just don't want there to be any confusion.
Separate.
We have to get it annexed.
Yes, before they can do anything
Separate
else.
listing.
Yes.
Everyone understand the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
And I will prepare an order for your signature and I'll get it to Bruce.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't need
That's so important. You get that word.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be anything that the commission signs. John, is there something that the commission has to sign, like actually?
He's an order. Just like Connie Douglas signed when she's ready.
We need to sign it.
I think we can see it at our next meeting.
Okay.
Or is it, okay, so then the chairman is not, the chairman is not authorized to sign it then?
It wasn't in my motion.
Not in the motion.
I just want to make sure.
I'd like it to be reviewed by council before we sign it.
October 25th.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you, John.
Thanks, Sean.
I have a question, since we're already behind on plats, do you want to do your variance or do you want to go in order? He's here as well.
Let's go in order for now. Okay.
All right, first one. Staff report for Dakota Energy Resources, lots 1 and 2. You guys had approved this preliminary, it was back in, it was a while ago. I don't remember the date. You approved the preliminary. They had to go ahead and put an access in, and you wanted to see that on the final plat with an actual recorded easement. That is on the plat. We checked it to make sure it got recorded and the easement document was added. And this, they had some fire plant stuff to be done. That has been completed as well, and we received the completion letter. So everything was met at the time of that you had requested as part of the preliminary. So this is just the final plat showing those 2 lots. This is the lot that's going to be transferred to the South Dakota Board of Regions. Do you remember this at all?
Mhm.
It's been a little while
It's been a
ago
while.
since we went through the process, but.
There's a rock formation there.
Yep, and this is, you can see the blank here, because we didn't have that document number yet, but it is on the Mylar.
What is the board's feeling? Mr. Douglas?
Well, the access agreement has no geometry on it. So if somebody tries to retrace that in the future, it would be interesting. It's very poorly done.
Mr. Flanagan?
I don't disagree with Commissioner Nyberg. However, I would say that if you could do an easement that says center line of existing road is the easement for this document, then you would just have to do it through the picture. But on there's a flat, it's kind of not ideal. But I'll make the motion.
Second.
A motion to second. Questions? Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. I'll get enough to get done.
Okay.
Let's speed things up.
Okay, so the next one is the Boulder Canyon Country Club / Forebears in the Hills. After I was able to talk to Mike Short on this one, basically what they're doing is it's consistent with what the overall plan always has been, which was to sell a portion of the property to the Boulder Canyon Country Club for them to build a new clubhouse on. But in lieu of monetary issues for the country club, Forebears in the Hills and his partners have decided to go ahead and build the country club on the property that they own, and in turn rent it back to the actual country club. But they're going to build it and keep ownership of it at this time. May change over time, but for right now, that's what they're going to do. So it's still a country club. It's originally we had the clubhouse tract is what we had done, and they would like to break that down a little bit smaller, and then they show you the proposed layout of like the structure and whatnot. Currently there's nothing there. It sort of sits, you can see where the new building went up for the sewer system. It's like behind that, kind of is probably the closest if you're driving down the interstate, or not the interstate, the highway. It's right there. So that's what they're looking at doing. There's a preliminary and a final. It's proposed structures.
Question, discussion.
Motion to approve the preliminary.
Second. That motion is second. Question and discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Motion to approve the final.
Second. Questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Ready? me to just
Yep.
keep going?
Yep.
Okay. The next one is lots 1 through 7, block 19 for a final plat. You guys approved the preliminary and you approved the memorandum of agreement and the letter from KLJ last month as part of their bonding stuff that you guys had done. So this is just the final plat within that area, matches the approved preliminary.
Commissioner Diver.
We have all the surety in place, right?
Yes, you do.
And the rest of the final lots won't come to us? Is this the first one? in that
Actually,
area?
they're at the next, they're on here. I had done it because we didn't have this
Move
one
to
approved
follow the
yet. So.
recommendation plan and zoning and approve the final plat.
Second. A motion and second. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
So this is it. It's 8 through 11, and it ended up being this way because it took another meeting to get through the bonding stuff. I think they would have done it differently if it would have worked out that way, but it didn't. So that's why you're seeing both of them.
Plan and zoning's recommendation.
They recommended approval. They did do an amended preliminary with this one to fix the road issue.
Okay.
So that's why we did the amended preliminary.
So make a motion to approve the amended preliminary and the final.
Please.
Second.
Any further questions, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay.
This one is also in Apple Springs, Four Bears in the Hills LLC, lots 1A. It's combining 2 lots into 1 lot.
Move to follow the recommendation of plan and zoning and approve the preliminary and the final. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
That was exempt from the fire plan.
Yeah.
Actually, they have a
They've got
fire
fire
plan.
plan.
Yeah. They're clear, there's nothing there. Okay, next one is class development, final plat for lots 1 through 9 and 31 through 42 of Dakota Highlands Estates. Brad is here as well if you have any questions for him. But basically, the certificate of completion has been provided in here. The as-built have been provided, and this is kind of for the first phase of that road. And they did record the amended agreement with the HOA, the adjacent thing. That was recorded already. You guys saw that at your last meeting when he was here. This is just the plat part of it. I can't speak for Alan. I can tell you as of 10/3, he had not been out there. I don't know if he has.
Mr. Chairman, go ahead, a couple questions. They're showing on the plat itself, they're showing the drainage area. Does the homeowners association talk about who takes care of the right of ways?
Probably not.
And then the certificate of completion is signed by a project manager. Is he an approved contract?
We don't have any rules on the certificate of completion. We just require them.
So we have somebody that's not the contractor signing the rules of completion.
I don't know.
Fire plan.
I can.
I mean, it's in the same office.
Oh, you mean the
On the fire.
from Interstate? Yes,
Yeah.
you guys approved him.
Yeah, is he the one? I thought it
Yes.
was a different gentleman. I thought it was the engineer, not the project manager. Can you check that signature?
Can you answer that question?
Yeah, so Trent Walters isn't at our firm anymore. He's at the city of Spearfish.
Okay.
Again, so yeah, I was one that went up.
Okay, well, that's not, we need the same signature from a approved contractor.
Okay.
I don't have a problem approving this if we decide with that caveat. Yeah, it needs to be an approved contractor.
So you're talking about the wildfire
Wildfire
mitigation
mitigation, yeah,
contractor is what you're
Yeah.
referring to.
So is your motion to approve it contingent?
I'm waiting for some more comment before I make any motions. I just was pointing out some questions.
Anyone else? Go
Seemed
ahead,
to me like there was some discussion about water. Well, they're going to go out and look at the water, but they didn't drill or anything. They were just guessing what it was going to do.
Mr. Gardner.
Well, the way this was presented in the preliminary plat that we approved is they were going to do group or individual wells, which is allowed in that zoning district. And so the way they presented it, it wasn't part of their obligation. I will add that the road as-built are submitted and they match the design fairly well. There's one area that there was a gap. That road's not built yet.
I guess I don't know what.
You have it handy?
Because on the
What's the
south,
road profile?
The as-built, yeah.
because the loop is fully built, it's just like the roads that kick south aren't built out.
Okay, so that's where that gap is. It hasn't been graded yet or as-built. So it's not in
You're
this
talking
area.
about like this area.
If you go down,
here.
keep going down about 5 sheets.
Actually, that road off of phase one is being gravelled today all the way to the south on the pass road, but that wasn't a part of phase one. So phase one, the top coat's been put on and everything's done. For hydro seeding.
Keep going.
Wall was put in place.
Right there. So that piece is not part of what we're approving.
Correct, none of the lots touch that.
Because there's no as-built information. Stops right over there on the left of that sheet.
They'll probably be next spring.
Okay.
It's, that road's roughed in and it's, is that one, that's being gravelled now already, so it's gonna be way ahead of its time, but they'll be in next spring. Discussion on topic.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Comfortable making a motion?
Planning and zoning.
They recommended approval of it.
I'll move to approve the final plat as presented
With
with the caveat on the fire plan before filing.
So just have someone review it.
And it has to be a certified contractor on the fire plan. Before filing.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Number 7 has been removed.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Signing done.
You understand.
Yeah, no, that
that
makes
one
sense.
got-
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, that Shining Dawn one got pulled on Thursday right before planning and zoning, so that's why you don't see it in here. So we'll skip to the Dale Hall. So this one, Dale Hall is basically trying to break the existing home, which is on one side of Brownsville Road, and then the rest of the property is on the other side of Brownsville Road. The home itself will sit on one lot, and then the remainder of it is shared. Okay. They did do a fire plan. There was no work to be completed, so it was, they already provided their property status letter saying there was no work to be completed.
Okay. Bruce, we need you here for this. Mr. Chairman, I have a question for council. Dr. Hopka, they're showing Brownsville Road here. They don't show the dimension on it being 66 feet, for one thing, but they don't say it's previously dedicated or dedicated this plat. Same with Pakama. Pakama, thank you. I think I know that. I did a trial.
I worked on that.
Yeah, but so I remember up in Cherry Peak Summit Road on that plat, they said per the statute, which reinforces the position of the county that it's our right of way just on use. So I don't have a problem approving this plat if they would dimension that as 66 feet and reference that statute similarly to that plat. That was Mystic Minor. That puts us in a better position identifying that it's our road, because it's not platted at any time. The homestead interest survey has never been changed. So I think that would be the correct way to do it. And I wanted your opinion on
I think that's an excellent suggestion.
So we can approve them by modification.
Yeah, I would-
of the plats.
I would approve both the preliminary and the final with the addition of the width dimension of Brownsville Road and referencing the appropriate statute with the advice of the county attorney.
Second.
I don't think they'll have any.
I have a motion and a second. Everyone understand that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
It's just because this isn't a dedicated public right of way per se, but we control it because we've been doing it.
Yeah,
for
well,
so long.
it's
I know.
operational.
Is basically what it is.
And I think that method is very, very
Okay.
good tool.
Do you remember?
I'm looking it up.
I can find it
Thank
on
you.
the plat. if I need to. It's on the officer.
It's in
And that's
31.
for preliminary and final, correct?
Yep.
Okay. And, okay, so this one is lot 117 of Maitland Partners. This was the last lot that you guys approved as part of the bond that you just did.
but the plat that you guys approved last month didn't have, I don't know what happened. It was in the bond, but it didn't get included on plat. So I probably in theory didn't have to have this come forward to you because you've already approved one and it was included in the bond, but I felt more comfortable having you guys approve it. I think the other one was like 109 was the last lot. But when I looked back, it was included in the bond. This legal description was. It just wasn't on the plat.
And you're comfortable with it?
Yeah, because you guys bonded for it,
Sure.
so I don't have any problem with it. It was included in the bond.
Does this have water?
This is that first phase
First
that
phase,
you
thank you.
guys
That's
did.
all I need to
Yeah,
know.
it was the first phase. I think there's like 20 lots, maybe you've done 10 of them, and that's all that was bonded. So now anything else that comes in, it was not included in the bond.
Okay.
Motion to follow recommendation.
Second. Further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
This one, I'm just giving you a heads up. I forgot to put exempt on it, so it did show it that I will need an exempt. Just so you know.
Chairman, before we get started, I have a fundamental question.
Yes.
Is this park forest zoning?
Tronus?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay, they got 8 acres. How are they creating 2 lots? Need a 5 acre average.
2 acre minimum.
5 acre average. You don't have 8 acres.
How many lots?
2.
Well,
Is this a lot line revision or is
let's
this-
get to that. Yes, it is.
Okay.
So this is lots 9A and 12A. It's a lot line revision between lot 9 and lot 12.
Oh, I'm on the wrong one. I apologize.
I was like, what? Okay, so this is,
Okay.
yeah, and the
I
Tronus
skipped
tract.
one
So
on.
you actually have 3 lots. You have 19.574 acres, 2.566 acres, and 3.563. What they're doing is this was a mineral survey load. It was the ethyl load. This corner, you can see where the road actually exists. This corner is going to be combined in with this lot. And then this little piece here, which it's because of the existing residence, it was probably cutting the corner of the residence, honestly. They are bought a little bit of that load to fix that issue. So it's all a lot line adjustment between the ethyl load and those other 2 lots to fix issues.
I'll make a motion to declare it exempt since it's lot line.
Second.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Go ahead.
Move to approve the preliminary and final as presented.
Second.
Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
I don't know what that is.
That's the one that we asked them to go to the.
That's the one that was pulled. I
That was
said that
pulled?
at the beginning. Yeah,
All right.
it was pulled.
I forgot to tell you at the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw across that.
You had me totally confused.
Well, I jumped to
What
the
are you
wrong day.
talking about? Okay, so that's all I have for plats. So now we're to the variance, I believe.
Public hearing's been closed.
Public hearing was
closed,
at the
yes.
last meeting, it was listed, but it's not here.
Okay,
We need to recess it.
County Commission convene the Board of Adjustment.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
okay, so I'm gonna start with, after the last meeting, I met with Adam. He had some pictures and then I also went out and took some pictures because I thought that would help since not everybody was able probably to get out there. So I'm gonna go through some photos first. This was, dirt work had been started. Shows this is the highway over here, fence lines. I'm gonna keep going here. Tell me if you see anything of interest, but I'll just kind of explain. He did go out and, kind of show you where general location was gonna be. Here's your power line. So then I'm gonna go to this. This one here is kind of showing the back. It's so hard to do it in a photograph, but when you're standing right about here, it goes down, and then that's where you can see the water line, basically, I can visually see it. I tried to get a decent picture of it, but it's just so hard to do it visually, but you can see the water line. And then he did try finding a surveyor. It's hard to do in a week's time period to find somebody, but he's been working with this engineer to do some work, and so they did provide this site plan, and it's better for sure than what we had. So I'm gonna kind of blow it up here. Here's your property line. This is the building that we just did, and it's out there. It's on the property. Over here is kind of the section. Here's the 15-foot setback. Here's where the 25-foot setback would be if that's what you required. He's asking for this variance here. Here's that electrical distribution. There's a 12.5-foot required clearance from the distribution line. And you can see this came here. Here's your floodplain back here, but about, here's your line here. It's about right here where you start seeing that water line. So, and Adam is here again if you have questions for him.
Questions from anyone? Comments?
Oops, sorry.
Oh, yeah, Bob.
I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion for approval. I don't have a problem with this.
Mr. Chairman?
It's not
Yes.
out of line.
Again, this requires a super majority.
Yep.
2/3, which would be 4 out of 5 by my math.
Yep. Thank you. That's why they have you, Bruce.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions, discussion, Patrick?
I'm trying to find the hardship, the cost of realigning the electric line, the floodplain. You could change the structure size, you wouldn't need a variance. I'm trying to find the hardship.
Can I answer?
Go ahead.
So the cost of moving the distribution line in that area was $18,000, according to Black Hills Electric Cooperative. You know, based on the floodplain of where those power lines are, I just don't have a lot of other places to build the structure. That was brought up last time. The structure is already being built. It's in Montana. It's being delivered on the 24th. So I either hopefully get the variance or I scrap the work and move it back to the 25-foot and have to deal with $18,000, which I'm sincerely hoping I don't have to do.
How tall is this structure?
It's there's two levels. There's two bottom levels. The bottom levels are the lowest portions about 10 foot, and the upper level would be somewhere around 20 foot.
Questions, Mr. Flanagan?
Do we have, and I was gonna look them up, but do we have the requirements to grant a variance?
They're on the board there.
I just didn't scroll back down.
Yep, that's okay.
Distinguished from the mere inconvenience.
Further questions, discussion from the board? See none? Those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Fails.
I just want to state that I'm trying to find a way to make this work, but if we approve all of these, just everyone would come in with the power line be an issue.
I understand.
Well,
go ahead, Bobby.
What I based my decision on was it's not interfering with anything else. And you certainly don't want to be under the power line. I don't think it's doing any harm to, it's not doing any harm to the neighboring property. He's just got a lot of different issues out there that he has to try to deal with. And common sense, that's what I based my decision on. It's not harming anything.
I agree with you, Bob. But it has failed. That's what's in your motion. Hearing none, we'll move back
Okay, County Commission, I'll move to recess as Board of Adjustment, reconvene as commission.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Take a minute, Adam, so they did, it motion failed.
Okay.
So let me know which way you decide to go. Thank you.
Just gonna go right back to the original.
Okay, thank you.
Amber,
So I just wanted to update you all, and I did put a couple of extra of these. I was gone last week, so I didn't get them out to you guys earlier. Just to give you an idea, you're gonna start seeing some bills come through for interpreter fees. And oh, did you see one today? Okay.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to kind of talk about how that's going to work. I have been communicating with the administrator, court administrator down in Sturgis, trying to figure it out. And it appears that if we need to communicate with our clients because they don't speak English, and it's outside the courtroom, it's going to have to come from our professional fees. And I argued a little bit with that because I said, well, if and when I go out on my own and I'm willing to take individuals who don't speak English, I'm not going to have a professional fees budget, and it's certainly not going to come out of my fees. I gave you the policy and the system access plan just so that you would have an idea. It appears from their statutes that these individuals are not supposed to be charged for these fees because they don't have the ability to speak English. They somewhat qualify it on civil and other special hearings, though. I don't know if from a equal protection standpoint, we want to make that distinguish among that, or if you all want to distinguish that. We have not been charging for it because we can't communicate with them. And it's coming up more frequently. So far, it's just Spanish. You'll notice on the last 2 pages, the Second Circuit is way worse off than we are or ever will be. They use it a lot with a lot of different languages. I was surprised even in the Seventh Circuit, they only used it 12 times with Spanish and once with Japanese last year, which was surprising to me. I would have thought the Seventh Circuit needed it more. The Fifth Circuit actually needs it more than the Seventh Circuit, which was very surprising to me. We have right now 3 clients who we cannot communicate with because their English is so poor. And although I speak Spanish pretty fluently, I don't speak Spanish from a legal standpoint. So I can get through and have a conversation with someone until we get to a legal discussion, and then mine are non-existent because we didn't learn that in college. So I just wanted to give you kind of the heads up that, in order for us to adequately represent these folks and help them make determinations on how they want to proceed on cases, you're going to start probably seeing more of those. And then we have one of these cases that's set for a motions hearing and trial at the moment. And so if it's not one at motions hearing, which will come out of the, I guess, UJS budget, because we're doing a motion for that to be paid by UJS, then you'll see that at trial too, and those will be getting pretty spendy, but it doesn't come up frequently, but it seems to be coming up more and more, and I didn't want you all to be wondering what happened all of a sudden. It's just that we have a lot more individuals who don't speak English as their primary language who are working here and living here. You know, we sometimes get them with the rally, and we use that, you know, primarily during that time, but all three of these individuals that we're representing right now live here and they're working here currently. So,
It happens.
yeah.
So these are gonna be consultants you're using under direction of the county and the court, right?
Yeah, under direction of the court, they have a list of translators, and really we only have one, which is Miss Pfeifferly, that is available, that is court certified, that, you know, I think there might be a few others. I just know that we used her several years ago, and she does it for feds, and she goes all the way down to Nebraska to do it even. So she's very qualified. We have been using Language Line for initial conversations, and so you'll see some of those bills come through probably as well. But when it's a more in-depth conversation, the Language Line is just awkward, to say the least. There's a lot of lag, whereas if we have an interpreter right there, it's a very smooth process. So even though it costs more, I think it's better for the client and better for us to be able to have that conversation in more in depth. So
Primarily, you'll need it for your one-on-one.
yes, exactly. Exactly. So I just wanted to give you the update, make sure that you didn't have any questions. I'm glad one came through and I was able to come up today and get it at least addressed. But
go ahead.
Raises an interesting question. If one of those cases does go to jury trial, the court would normally use Language Line, but that would be just intolerable to go for a jury trial in that fashion.
yes,
right?
Motions hearings or jury trials. And so I've instructed Mr. Bryson is representing the one currently that is on the docket for motions hearing and jury trial. So I've instructed him to do a motion and order for the court to approve Ms. Pfeifferly to be present for those and have that come out of the court budget. But it's still going to be
if we run into problems, we can always supplement.
Yes.
If we need to.
Yeah.
So,
We did one in Chinese a few years ago, and it was terrible.
Yeah. I mean, just doing an arraignment is painful with Language Line. I mean, it really is, but it's very time consuming. But, you know, for those initial things, it's not a big deal. But a motions hearing would be impossible, or a trial would be impossible because you can't communicate confidentially with your client at all then. So, yeah, I wanted to give you the update and make sure that you were all well aware.
Yep.
My wife missed the boat years ago when I had the towing. We get called from law enforcement on an arrest. They say, bring your wife.
Oh.
And we used her a lot. She never charged anything.
She's so wrong from Priscilla speaks Russian.
Is she still interested?
Well, she's got a full-time job in Wyoming, but
darn it.
She's extremely fluent in Spanish.
Okay.
I think we went back and tried to see if we ever paid her, and we couldn't find that we ever paid her, so that made me second guess it with it. I was misremembering that.
No, we never asked for anything.
We were frugal when we called for her assistance.
Well, and I actually have not, it's not really even necessarily a joke. I mean, I have a minor in Spanish, and I really do think in 2.5 years I might take a 1 month sabbatical and go down and get fluent again, and get at least to a point where I can have conversations with my clients, and then at least it takes that burden off the county if we do have some Spanish speaking, and Spanish is primarily what we're going to have. But I was actually shocked at the number of different languages that are in Minnehaha County. I was like,
I was surprised Lakota wasn't on your list.
wow. I was surprised that it's not needed. Yeah.
What is Karen?
Corinne. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What is it?
Karen.
So there's a high Korean population in Huron and in Aberdeen. Huron was a refugee city. It's sad.
It's an Arab.
Oh,
No,
Aaron,
it's
No,
actually,
you're thinking
it's
university or-
oh, I'm thinking, yeah, it's
They're on
island,
the
so it'd be
school.
more like Asian, you know, Thailand.
Oh, Thailand, yeah,
Thailand.
okay.
I worked at
Burmese.
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 I used to see the
Oh,
notifications
sign.
published
Thank
in
you,
like
Burmese,
all
I
these
didn't
different
know.
languages. They were like alphabets that I didn't even recognize what it
Yeah.
was, right? I mean, I never, what is that?
Now it's like Cyrillic. You can't even pretend to pronounce reading Cyrillic.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. So scribble is on the page.
Primarily in coastal areas of Thailand and lower regions of Burma.
Okay.
Okay, see, Burmese.
Thailand.
Very, very good. So, I did not.
We'll take 4 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
gentlemen.
you. Then we'll come back to you, Paul.
Hatton?
Are you here for us?
Yeah, I'll be next.
A degree in French. Language barrier.
What's that?
My wife teaches Latin.
Oh, really?
John Witherspoon College in Rapid City.
I can tell you conversational Spanish and trying to speak, when we went down to Mexico, to Peru, to try to explain surveying, it's like, I don't know what that is. This piece of equipment, we call it this.
Add an O to each word and say it louder.
Yeah, they'll understand.
Yeah. Slower and
Or
louder.
you will.
Drop some money, then they hear that part.
Jackie, you can still hear us?
She fell asleep. She's feeling hungry. Who else is on? Just you and Jackie on the screen, huh?
Yep.
She the only one that's been on all day?
No, there was somebody else, somebody named Mary was on earlier too.
Hmm.
And for whatever reason, they reformatted they reformatted the page, so I don't get the same prompts that I used to. So I don't even have to use the phone. It doesn't even prompt me to do that. I suppose I could. It's picking it up from my computer. It seems to work just fine, so it's a lot simpler in that regard. To dial in or any of that kind of nonsense.
Maybe a new computer would be easier to work with.
I think it would.
This is pretty simple.
But I think we got it through Greg today to get on.
Yeah.
He's
Odd
gonna
that
be
he didn't
getting a
even
new
know
one.
about that. Somehow he didn't get the message. You're reluctant.
Some of us
So I
are
need to
little
come back
tight lipped.
and get to the bottom of that.
See, I didn't know that.
How come you're so reluctant?
I knew the one that I did.
I don't know, I think this one.
You like that computer?
Started to teach.
No.
No, yeah, too, but yeah, I'm just used to
10 years. It's been upgraded.
Take it home and play with it.
I've got a new one. Yeah.
Oh, you're fine. You're well within your 4 minutes.
Get some water then.
Yes.
25 seconds. So I think with that language line, there's probably going to be some mileage attached to that as well, and so it's going to be.
Yeah, the in-person is going to be a little expensive.
Yeah.
I think it's like this would get worse.
Oh, yes.
I'm not sure, but I think one of the clients that she's referring to was one of our roofer guys.
Oh, really?
I think so.
That's a little
So
trouble.
that's why it slowed down a little bit.
Do they ever work, Bruce? I've never
They were up
seen
there
it.
today. They were. Because I walked back with the guy today. He was talking to his interpreter, and he looked back and he goes, "Hey, mi amigos," and they all waved at him. And so yeah.
They worked on Saturday too.
I've never seen them up there.
Yeah, they were up there this morning. I saw them on the ridge line.
Paul, you ready for us?
Yes.
Let's roll.
Jennifer, seats from Blackest County. Part of the grant process.
Ready?
Yep.
Good morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
So Lawrence County and most counties in South Dakota have what's called a natural hazard mitigation plan. You're required every 5 years to update that plan. The benefit of having the plan is that it makes you eligible for funding from FEMA for mitigation projects, 75% grant, 25% local match. The other benefit is that you have a state and local assistance agreement with Office of Emergency Management and FEMA to pay 50% of your emergency manager's salary. So that's the carrot on the stick, I guess, is that part of those costs to the county are
are subsidized by FEMA if you have one of these plans. So we're at the point where your plan is going to expire in the year 2024. But in order for us to get the plan updated prior to expiration, so you don't jeopardize the funding for full salary, we need to write a grant to pay for the 75% cost of it. And then the 25% cost is covered through in-kind match through the meetings that we will hold. So there is no actual cost from the county. You may need to budget for receiving a grant and the grant going out, but there would be nothing. It's a wash. So so really, we're at the point of needing to apply. Applications are due December 1st. It's an online program. Kaylee's been working with Paul and Brenda to be able to get them set up so that we can go in and just do the application for you. The online program was new last year at this time, and so there have been some glitches with it, but I think we've worked out most of the issues with it. The other thing that we're dealing with is lots of change in staff at OEM and also at FEMA. So it's, while we know the process, because we've been doing it for a very long time, it's very frustrating when you get new staff that come into those positions and say, yes, you need it, no, you don't. And so we come and ask you for something and then turn around and say, well, now we need something different. So just work with the staff, I guess, on it and be patient with us. We'll get everything you need to be to get your grant application in by December 1st. But a couple of the things we need are, one, the designation of applicant agent and the resolution. Now, if you read those forms, they are redundant. These are one of the things that I just have to get over myself and say it doesn't need to make sense. We'll just check their boxes for them. But the designation basically is saying you're designating someone to be allowed to sign all documents pertaining to the grant. And the resolution is essentially a redundancy, but in a different format. Also authorizing someone to be your applicant agent to allow them to go online. All of the grant application forms are signed electronically. But obviously you'll notice those are paper forms, so we will get original signatures on those and we'll attach those as well. That's one of the kind of hiccups in the online system right now that we're hoping will get worked out. So right now we're not really asking anything other than authorizing someone to be the applicant agent. Typically that is your emergency manager for these grants, and then it allows us to go in and submit the application online. Are there any questions at all? Looking at, there is a local match fund commitment. Again, the way that that's written is basically saying you'll provide the match in kind. So we will hold enough meetings to collect the in-kind. The $25.52 is actually a federal standard FEMA rate for volunteer work. So anybody who shows up to a meeting that we hold, and also meetings that I hold here, if there's people who show up, we just have them sign a form saying you were here, you listened to the presentation. FEMA does acknowledge that anytime we're out here speaking about mitigation, we are educating people about mitigation. So, and just a kind of a quick, for people who don't understand what mitigation is, it is not response and recovery. We're not talking about sending fire trucks to a fire. We're not talking about cleaning up after floods. We're talking about what are you doing as a county in a planning department perspective to ensure that you're not allowing structures in the floodplain. Or if you are, what are you requiring in addition to make sure that they're not going to get washed away and cause more problems? Where are you allowing people to build? Are the requirement of secondary access and egress? We've seen numerous instances in, Forest Service type areas or areas that are heavily forested where getting people evacuated has been a problem because they only had one way to access or egress. And so a lot of times those fires come quick, and they just run through. How are you going to get, or if you have response vehicles heading to the fire and you have people trying to get out, it creates a problem if there's not a proper, way for passage and stuff. So just looking at your current existing ordinances, what are you requiring for new developments? What do you require for, access, egress, but Also, who's managing your floodplain? Do you have a certified floodplain administrator, and are they looking at that every time you have an application for development? Things like that. We take a look at everything on the books existing. We look at existing plans. One of those that we have to coordinate with is the Forest Service's Land and Management Resource Plan. Those two should tie it together. Thankfully, we're involved in that as well, so we'll be able to check to make sure. But also looking at your comprehensive plans and all other planning documents, just making sure that they all align. So I did do a quick review of your existing plan. I do see some gaps that we can address, but for the most part, it's been done very well. So we can work with what is there, but it will take a little bit of work to get it into a format that is recognizable to us. And then also looking to see if we can incorporate your community wildfire protection plan that you've recently done, and yeah, just making sure that all of the new requirements. So we have to address climate change, some social injustice and equity things that are all new requirements since your last plan. So we have examples, so we can talk through those. But any questions specifically about mitigation or about this application?
Jennifer, excuse me, do either one of these two, the fair signing, need to be on the letterhead, like you mentioned?
Yes, I believe I talked to Bruce about that. And so you might notice that this specific letter is signed by Paul. That would be your resolution designates him as applicant agent.
Same one on the screen, except it's on letterhead.
Our resolution is 22-28, and that is a resolution appointing Paul Thompson, our emergency manager, as the authorized applicant. So that would be first.
Sign the resolution.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And we also have designation of applicant agent, which would also be Paul Thompson.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
And then authorization to have Paul sign the letter for the match.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
So essentially your resolution authorizes him to sign everything.
Yep. And then we also put him in this.
So Paul, don't abuse your privilege.
No.
Yes.
He'll only sign what we tell him to sign.
Yeah.
So it's
There's
usually
a
like
couple levels. Let's go with that.
I'll make copies.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you, Jennifer.
While you're here, Paul and one of the fire districts, they want to talk to you about some grants.
Yeah, we talked about
Okay,
it.
all
I'll have to check is the answer. So
All right. Items from the public. Anyone here would like to speak to us about an item? You have 3 minutes. You're required to speak for 3 minutes. No one?
No,
All
3
right.
minutes. Speak, Mike.
Go ahead.
Mike Whalen, Nemo, 169 Old Marinvestus Road. Thank you. I'm glad that Brian brought that up. We've been trying to get those flashing lights for quite some time. And, I think that'll help. We put them in the right places. The other thing too is Marinvestus Road. There's a couple areas along the steep side banks, when I mean steep, like 75, 80 feet down. The roadway's kind of giving away, and it's going to be problematic, I think, because it's kind of narrow there anyway. And if you look through a couple of the reflectors, you know, you line up from one reflector to the other, there's no road there between some of them. It's a problem. You know, we've had a couple of people die on that road over the years. One that's recent was maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. On this road, you don't realize how deep those banks are. If you go to the edge and look, they're deep. So I'm just kind of preparing you all for maybe some additional guardrails or signage or reflectors. I don't know what to do in those situations. That's a really rocky, steep just over the last couple of years, it's kind of eating into that roadway. So just kind of a heads up. But I wanted to thank you for some signals out there. Thank you.
It's a start, right? We can talk to Alan about guardrail too. Yes, Mr. Elker.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I was going to bring your attention before I forgot. You should have had in your packet the grand opening. If you're going to comment on that, I did put at the end of the agenda a notice of quorum in case 3 or more of you attend that on Friday.
Okay. And then we also received a letter from the National Forest in reference to strawberry.
That came this morning.
Did you send that out to the resource?
I just got it. Yep. I have it scanned in to send to them.
So we all have a chance. It's in your package. You can take a look at that.
I got one on there.
I haven't heard anything else on Strawberry Lake.
There's actually 2 of them in there. I copied them together.
Okay, all right, so this is both of those.
I have not heard anything from anyone else in reference to the rest area welcome center, unless someone else has heard something. Remember?
There's a Google poll
What's that?
online. They sent out an email to do a poll online.
Did they?
I've been sharing it on our Facebook page, like whenever they're having the public meetings and stuff. I've been doing that, and then I've attended all of them. I reviewed their RFP stuff, I reviewed the process. I think they're down to 3. We have a meeting here. I want to say the next to decide who's going to get the RFP stuff.
What are the 3 locations?
Firms.
Well, the firms for the design aspect of it,
Okay.
location wise, they're still not, they still don't have it for sure. We did a review of 6 different locations. I think they narrowed it down to 3, and then the 3 different design RFPs. You know, that's the next step. But I am attending all of them.
If you keep us informed, but
I can, yeah. I know we have one coming up to look at the remainder of the RFP stuff.
okay. Anyone have anything else? All right.
There is a meeting on the 17th, counties in the Forest Service. Amber, did you say that if there's a big
At
program
Custer,
already
at the
that-
Forest Service.
You know,
There was 6 of them total.
Cunningham one? Custer.
No, I don't think
It's a county.
so.
It's at the Forest Service office.
Main office.
As you go into town on the right.
No, it's for the,
Forest
update
plan.
on the assessments and update on the forest plan.
Are you adjourned, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah,
let's
let's
adjourn.
Motion's been made and approved.
Okay, yeah, I'll be right there.
Thank you to everyone. We got a little behind, but.
Everybody was in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Jackie, I'll be closing the meeting out. Thanks for attending. Conclude the broadcast day.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.